up, freak bitches, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time. So very sorry for the technical delay, but I am computer retarded, so, I sometimes don't remember to do stupid things like check my settings after I update Windows. So, I take all the blame for that. But again, thank you so much for being here. Wow, a whole absolute fuck ton of things to go through today. I had to cut so many stories. Some of them were just kind of filler stories, but some were stories I really wanted to talk about, like, Denzel Washington confirming that, he was doing a third, fucking movie for The Equalizer, which I thought was cool. Santa Claus, gonna be a limited series with Tim Allen on Disney Plus. I thought that was cool. But it's just like, it seemed like one story after another just kept pounding on top of each other over the course of the last 4 or 5 days. And I just think I had to limit it to the bigger stuff. I didn't know what else to do. So maybe I'll do some other smaller thing over the course of the week just to kind of go over some of the smaller stories. But regardless of all that, Lady Cora is having some kind of an internet issue. Hopefully she'll be on at some point during the show. If not, I think we have it covered. Because I have with me, as always, my hetero life mate, Jeremy. What's going on, my brother?
What's up? I'm enjoying you absolutely ass blasting my fucking headphones with your voice.
Well,
Something sounds like you were literally like this close in front of your mic. Like when you start, that's what it sounds like. And that's when you start, and you're still. For a second there, it sounded good. And for a second, it just doesn't.
My mic is in the exact same place that it usually is. I have no idea why it does that. But again, like I said, I just updated Windows like 2 days ago, and this is the first recording or live stream or anything I've done since then. So I'm pretty sure that some of my settings are all fucked now, and I have to go back and check a lot of stuff.
See, like this right here sounds good. Like that sounds good. But like for a second there, you sound like you were inside the speaker and fucking just blowing my shit out. It might bounce back out. I don't know. That was intense.
I certainly hope so. But we're going to get to it straight away. I do not have my leads in front of me. Maybe I should go pull those up real quick so I can look at them. Usually I have Lady Cora to read the stuff to me, and that was kind of my plan initially. I'll have to pull them up so that I can read them myself. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, guys. The technical problems that I was experiencing because I don't always think of stuff like this when I update systems. Kind of threw my game off.
Shouldn't expect something like that, though, to just reset everything,
Hey, you know what? There have been times where without really updating much of anything, I have turned on my computer and it has logged me out of every email to Facebook to Twitter to all the stuff that I am regularly logged into. That I'll log in and all of it's just like been factory reset, and I have no idea how that happens.
Yeah, it's not what you want.
But we'll work it out.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're here now. We're going to talk about some crazy shit. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that Weird Al Yankovic is getting a biopic. Lots of biopics about famous singers have hit the big screen over the years. Bohemian Rhapsody, Rocket Man, and Respect are just some of the most recent films to show us the life of history musicians. And now it seems that one of the best-selling artists of all times will have his life story told in film. According to THR.com, Daniel Radcliffe, of all people, Harry Potter himself, is set to play parody pioneer Weird Al Yankovic in Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. The description for the film says it holds nothing back, exploring every facet of Yankovic's life, from his meteoric rise to fame with early hits like Eat It and Like a Surgeon, to his torrid celebrity love affairs and famously depraved lifestyle. Jeremy, you are a fan of Weird Al Yankovic, like most people breathing, I would imagine. What do you think of the idea of a biopic for Weird Al Yankovic?
If anybody, that's as... I guess to put it mildly, as fucking interesting as Weird Al, why not, man? And especially, like you said, if we're not going to hold anything back, we're really just going to balls deep this thing. I'm excited because, there's, it's I don't know, I'm not going to claim I know the man, but I feel like, there's some shit we don't know about or something that you might surprise somebody.
I will 100% claim to know the man. I don't know the man. Don't ever believe a word I say. I'm a moron. Look, I don't think people have ever realized exactly what this guy has meant to the recording industry. It's like we all know he's there. We all feel like he's always going to be there. But I don't think anybody understands exactly his significance. A couple of things that I think are widely known, but a lot of people don't know, you know what I mean, is that Michael Jackson was such a big fan of Weird Al Yankovic that he gave him blanket permission to parody any song that he owned the rights to. Yeah. Like no questions asked. You don't even have to call me, just do it. Now, out of respect for the artist, he would always call representation to get permission anyway. Technically speaking, and a lot of people don't realize this, to do a parody, you don't really need permission. There's fair use laws out there that will allow him to do a parody of any song he wants and not necessarily have to legally go get permission. But it's something he's always done anyway. He's always called someone and said, hey, I want to do this. And it got to the point where he would not just call the representation, but call the artists themselves and say, hey, you're cool with this. And there have been times where some of the artists are like, I'm not cool. That Prince was one of the guys that was not fond of the idea of Weird Al parodying any of his songs. But Michael Jackson, the great Michael Jackson, think whatever you want of him. As an artist, he was absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Was a huge fan of this guy. Everybody was a huge fan of this guy. It became this thought in the music industry that that's how you knew you arrived as a real musician, is when Weird Al Yankovic wanted to play with one of your songs. That's what this guy has meant to music for 4 decades. The other thing I found out the other day that really blew me away is there are 3 artists that have had top 40 hits in each of the last 4 decades. Michael Jackson, Madonna, and Weird Al Yankovic. Those are the 3 names. Not Elvis, not some of the great bands that we love today, not some of the great singers and songwriters. No, those 3 people, Madonna, Michael Jackson, and Weird Al Yankovic. That's the kind of company that he keeps. That's how meaningful he is. And then to top it off, he does, even though it's he does the parodies, he does absolutely pay respect to the original product and to the artist. So much so that Mark Knopfler, who's the guitarist for Dire Straits, when he called and said, can I do this Money for Nothing parody about the Beverly Hillbillies and stuff like that? He goes, of course, we'd love for you to do it. My only caveat is I have to be the one that plays the guitar riff because that's kind of my shit. And he said, fine, you can come play the guitar riff. So Mark Knopfler went and redid the guitar riff from the Money for Nothing song for that song. But I mean, other than that, it's like Nirvana. I actually think, I read somewhere recently that in one of Kurt Cobain's notebooks, he actually made reference to the parody that he did of "Smells Like Teen Spirit," saying that he thought it was great writing. He thought it was one of the funniest things he'd ever heard. I mean, that's what most artists think of him.
That's because we can understand what Al is saying, Kurt. I mean, I know you're from the '90s, and we can't understand a damn thing you were saying, but hey.
And
it's okay, man.
and look, and Kurt Cobain, as anal as he was about some of this shit, he could have been like, I don't know if I want you doing that or whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, because look, he was every bit as protective over some of his stuff as people like Prince and stuff are of theirs.
Yeah.
But no, he said, do it.
You gotta have a sense of humor, at least kind of laugh at it a little bit and laugh at yourself. Like, you know what, fine. And if you, like you said, if you know this guy, you know he's like, I'm going out of my way to respectfully ask you and then respectfully put my all into this song, just as much as you do for the original song that I'm covering. So, if I don't know, it's like you'd be flattered almost. Like you said, like you'd be flattered as hell if Weird Al called you up and be like, hey, like, is it cool if I make a parody of one of your songs? And I'd just be like, yeah, fucking let me see what you got.
The guy's won 5 Grammy Awards.
Yeah,
there's some really good artists out there that haven't won 5 Grammy Awards.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's wild. Like back in the fucking day. I say back in the day, like fucking what, 15-ish plus years ago. We had shit like LimeWire and Napster, shit like that. For the longest time, I didn't even actually make it. One of the first CDs that somebody like burned me and like gave to me, and I had it for fucking years, was literally just like a bunch of just Weird Al's songs, which I knew of him. I knew of again, I grew up with the internet, so like I saw some of the funny shit like White and Nerdy. I saw Eat It. I saw like the classic shit, but then like he gave me this CD with like a bunch of his songs on it. I listened to that thing so many times on like repeat. Because I just thought it was fucking hilarious. It got me more into him.
Yeah, and then one of the better things about all this is Daniel Radcliffe is playing him.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around that.
So it's not like it's going to be some low budget bullshit thing that is just being done for shits and giggles. It's like they're actually kind of taking it a little bit seriously, which is fantastic because Weird Al Yankovic is one of those guys. He's never really had any public scandals. I mean, he's always kind of lived his life as a little bit of an open book anyway. I mean, it was news, but it wasn't news when his parents passed away. They passed away. There was a CO2 leak in their house, and they unfortunately both passed away. It's like even when that stuff was like news, nobody really beat on it. It was like everybody kind of like backed off and respected him the way that I think you should do whenever a celebrity goes through a situation like that. But everybody had that extra little bit of respect for him and said, we're just not going to report about it. We're not going to talk about it. We're going to, this guy is something to everybody. We were talking recently about Betty White and how she had managed in the course of her life and career to kind of transcend all the demographics that you could throw at, whatever you want to analyze. And I think Weird Al is one of those things as well. It's just like you can't find a whole lot of people who are like, Weird Al's stupid. It's like everybody's got that handful of songs. You're like, oh yeah, that song's funny as shit. Everybody I know has bought a Weird Al Yankovic album at some point in their life. It's like, or gone to YouTube and listened to like Amish Paradise or some shit like that.
Yeah.
It's, white and nerdy. I mean, it's like.
Well, and then like I didn't realize it until maybe last year or maybe 2 years ago. I didn't fucking know that Key and Peele were in that video for White and Nerdy. They're the two guys that fucking pull up. I was like, what the fuck? I never even noticed. And they're so much younger, but I was like, oh my god, you're right.
Have you ever seen UHF?
No. I know what it is, but no, I have not.
That's the last movie that Weird Al Yankovic made.
Yeah.
UHF is one of the funniest movies that ever came out of the 80s. I mean, in a decade that put out some really, really funny movies, that movie is an all-time classic. I'm pretty sure, I think it's on Prime, but I think you can watch it free with ads on YouTube.
I wouldn't. Maybe that's where I saw it like recently or something. Maybe that it's free on YouTube. Let me look.
And the best thing about that movie is that there's a lot of young talent in it. Like a young Fran Drescher's in it. Obviously Weird Al, the guy who played his friend, I forget. He ended up being a good, solid, like, comedic journeyman actor throughout most of the 80s and 90s. The blonde girl from that was big in SNL. I forget her damn name. I'm drawing a blank. The guy Kramer.
From Seinfeld?
Yeah, he was in it. He was a very, very young...
I see it. Holy shit, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very, very young version of him. I mean, there was a lot of talent in that movie that ended up going on and being big over the next several decades. And that movie's just hilarious. I mean, the basic crux of the movie is that this degenerate gambler wins some UHF station in a poker game. And for those of you who don't know what UHF is, I'm not surprised. It was dying out when I was a kid. But there used to be UHF and not VHS, UHF and something else on like the old dial televisions before everything went digital. And UHF was kind of the AM of TV, like what AM was to radio for so long. It's just a lot of stupid stuff, a lot of stuff that we listen to, a lot of the music from the 20s and shit like that. That's kind of what UHF was. And they end up blowing this stupid little UHF hole-in-the-wall channel on some hill somewhere into like this big, huge thing. And then, of course, he draws the ire of some big local network guy, and it becomes a big thing. But it's like, yeah, the whole movie's funny as shit. And then he makes up shows like Wheel of Fish and stuff like that. It's like, and one wildlife show where this guy's like in his apartment somewhere in the ghetto with like a ton of animals around his house, and he's trying to do this whole Steve Irwin thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's the whole concept is so insane.
I love parodies and like satires and shit like that because I'm like, it's like you know what it is or what it's trying to be, and it's just hilarious. The jokes that if you do it right, and you just sling the right kind of jokes, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, not free on YouTube. I just looked, but
I did. Yeah, you gotta rent or buy it.
But I'm pretty sure it's on. Well, you see, Heistman says it's on Tubi. I don't have Tubi either, but it's like. I know I've seen it before on one of the streaming services. I think it's one of those ones that kind of pops in and out. I know I saw it on Prime. I don't remember if it was behind a paywall or not. But yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is right now we need to get Daniel Radcliffe in a wig. We need to get Daniel Radcliffe in a Hawaiian shirt. We need to get him a damn accordion and get him in front of a fucking camera. I want to see this movie right now.
Yeah, it says included with Prime. It just says watch now on Amazon. So yeah, if you got that, you can just watch it. So it's probably free.
And it's like, and even this article, and I didn't get a chance to put these articles that I used, that I sourced in the description yet, but I'll do that after we get done. It's like, even in the article, they're having fun with this whole thing. It's like, here's some of the quotes. And this is from Al Yankovic. He said, when my last movie, UHF, came out in 1989, good God, I thought it was way earlier than that. I thought it was mid-'80s. I made a solemn vow to my fans that I would release a major motion picture every 33 years. Like clockwork, I'm happy to say we're on schedule. So he's even just playing this. I love it. He goes, I am absolutely thrilled that Daniel Radcliffe will be portraying me in the film. I have no doubt whatsoever that this is the role future generations will remember him for.
Like, yeah, because the old generations are like, oh, he's Harry Potter. Someone like me.
That little kid with the wand? What is that stupid movie all about? But yeah, they're having a lot of fun with this. Who
yeah, and if you get praise from the big man himself, I mean, you're doing something right.
Yankovic penned the script along with Aaron Appel from Funny or Die and stuff like that. He was involved in that. If you've never watched any of the Funny or Die stuff, it's funny. You know what I was reminded of is that Yankovic and Appel produced a fake trailer in 2010 for a movie called Weird, the Al Yankovic story, where Aaron Paul starred as Yankovic in the trailer. And they're actually getting around to making the movie now, which I think is great.
Right.
Appel was quoted as saying, when Weird Al first sat me down against my will and told me his life story, I didn't believe any of it, but I knew that we had to make a movie out of it. It's like,
that's what I'm saying. That's why my interest is piqued. I want to know.
Yeah, I just love the fact that they're even having fun with it. Now, this is going to be available exclusively on the Roku channel. I don't have Roku.
I haven't either.
I may have to get Roku for at least a month.
Get the free trial to watch the movie.
I'll get the free trial. Let him have my credit card number for a while just to get a chance to watch this shit. But yeah, I'm totally stoked about this. I mean, Weird Al Yankovic, it's been known, like I said, known but not known for a long time how significant he really is to the music industry. And
it's kind of one of those people that it's like, I don't know how you wouldn't at least know of him, or like, you probably know a song at least. You've heard one, His career has kind of come and gone. It's like he has like 5 or 6 years where he just doesn't really do a whole lot, or at least nothing really pops. It's like, because he had like the stuff in the 80s, and then it seemed like for the first part of the 90s he was just kind of out of the spotlight for a while, and then he pops out with the Under the Bridge parody that he did about Anakin Skywalker, and then he did a couple things around then, and then eventually he came out with things like White and Nerdy and Amish Paradise. Right. You mean American Pie? He was talking about Star Wars.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. But
I was like, wait. No, I know that one. Trust me.
But I mean, there's so many of them. I don't know. It's not hard to get them confused. The guy's put out like 4,000 parodies, and they're all hilarious.
Well, I know, and like it's not the only Star Wars one he's done either. So that's to be fair.
And not to mention he's actually done a lot of like original stuff. I mean, his concerts still do very, very well. I mean, pre-pandemic, of course. I don't think he's done a whole lot of concerts or touring since the whole pandemic thing started. But I mean, this guy was still selling out big arenas and shit like that, and people were dying to go see him. My friend Angelina actually has gone to see him twice.
Nice.
she said the place was packed. But I'm really super excited about the idea of a Weird Al Yankovic biopic. The thing is I don't know if I want them to take it too seriously or if I want them to do it kind of in the style of a Weird Al thing.
Well, I would think that there's going to be, if you're going to make a movie about Weird Al, like I said, it's probably going to be very elemental of how he is, because I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it's like, just watch a couple of his music videos or something. Or like you said, watch that movie, man. It's like you get an idea really quick about who he is, but I don't know if I could really explain him to somebody. Like, very eccentric.
I don't think you explain Weird Al to anybody. I think you just say, sit down and listen to the song.
That's what I mean. Buckle the fuck up, because it's gonna get fucking weird.
Listen to the song, watch a couple of the videos. This is Weird Al. This is exactly what it is. But yeah, I mean, and there was that one meme that was going around Facebook for the longest time. It was like it's got a picture of him and it says Weird Al Yankovic, so many Grammys, so many number 1 songs, so many whatever, and it says zero controversy. The guy has just not been a tool over the course of his life. And he very easily could have been, because the guy's been popular as shit. He's been in movies. He's been on TV. He actually had his own TV show for a while called The Weird Al Show. I think it only lasted like half a season, then it got canceled. I think it was on Fox like in the early '90s. He's done a lot of appearances and cameos and other shit. So I mean, look, if you're not familiar, go familiarize yourself with Weird Al Yankovic, and then go see this movie. I think it's going to be fun as hell. But in any respect, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. Are you excited for a Weird Al movie? Are you going to be running to the theaters to see it? I am. I'll be there opening night, I guarantee. Anyway, moving on to our next topic. Marvel finally dropped the first full trailer for the Disney Plus show Moon Knight during halftime of the first-round playoff game between the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams Monday night. On March 30th, Oscar Isaacs plays Mark Spector, an ex-soldier with a profound case of dissociative identity disorder that manifests as fully distinct individuals. He becomes the conduit for Egyptian moon god Khonshu, which only further exacerbates Mark's anxiety over his mental illness. Jeremy, what did you think of the first trailer for Moon Knight? I know you got a chance to watch it.
Yeah, about, an hour ago before I got on here. Because I looked at the list you said, you're like, here, we're going to do these things. I'm like, cool, I don't have to watch it just yet. And then I see the thumbnail, I'm like, motherfucker.
That was my mistake. I think I read something.
It's fine. I was like, it's a trailer. I'm like, I can watch it real fucking fast. Not that I didn't want to. Because I don't know. It's kind of, it seems cool. He looks like, I don't want to make any Assassin's Creed jokes, but you do be looking like the mummy fucked the, Ezio Auditore or some shit. And the only other I'm trying to not make fun of it because I'm like, and this, just follow me here, because there's this thing that they have comparisons of DC and Marvel of like what's what, the same of each one and like what year they came out. And they're like, Batman, 1939. Moon Knight was like 1964 or something like that when they came out in the comics. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it is. So I'm just going to sit back and laugh that he's Batman. Just fight me. Fuck you, he's Batman. So is Iron Man. You can fucking fight me. It's bad. It's all right. I don't know. This seems cooler, though. I mean, Batman can't just fucking, whatever the fuck he did there, and just all of a sudden he gets the suit. And he was beating the shit out of that dude. I mean, like I said, that was very, very Batman-y. It's interesting if you got something like dissociative disorder. Kind of makes sense, and then like that's I thought it was like a joke that he was just like an insomniac or something, and you just I'm like, well, you're gonna be awake during the night, buddy, because you're the fucking Moon Knight now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how all this whatever the hell he's suffering from works. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that, but from what I gathered from watching the trailer, it's that he doesn't know the difference between being awake and being asleep.
It's like you don't really know, like when you disassociate, it's like it's almost not quite out of body, but it's almost like you just kind of drift away, like for a second, like it's like you zone out almost, and you're just like, so you're somewhere else for a fucking minute, and then it's like, oh right, here I am. So I get it. It's kind of like a not like a split personality, but it seems like I don't know. Is he gonna wake up and then fucking have that'd be? I mean, a classic cinema trope of him having like amnesia. He wakes up and he's like, "Oh, what the fuck happened?" Like, I don't know. You ran around in a fucking Assassin's Creed Batman outfit and beat the shit out of people. Like, believe it or not, man. There it goes.
Yeah, I was watching the trailer, and the one thing that jumped out at me was you actually see Moon Knight for like a second in the trailer. It's like the rest of it's all kind of giving you a little bit of the story, which, I mean, whatever. It's a trailer. It's kind of what it's supposed to do. But when you see it, I mean, it's right here. I'll put it on the screen again real quick. When he beats the living shit out of that guy in the hallway, and not just like, I'm going to hit him to knock him out. It's like, I'm hitting to punch through his face.
Yeah.
And then he gets up and turns around and looks at you through the camera with those glowing eyes. I was like, holy shit, that's a killer visual. And then you do get that one moment in the trailer where he actually makes his transformation. You see like the bandages and everything kind of wrapping around him and shit like that. Yeah, I love the trailer. I thought it was pretty awesome.
It's very and I know it's also probably to be like a reveal of, hey, here's what he's gonna look like. And I mean honestly that's pretty on point, just from what I know of Moon Knight, which is basically nothing. Just that I know what it looks like, because I saw that little weird. They drew it in like those little weird chibi cartoony type style, like the thing I was talking about with the meme. Like, here's Batman, here's Moon Knight, and I'm like, yeah, that's like the same thing. Okay. I didn't know anything about it, so I kind of looked into it because being the Batman fan, I was like, oh, what is this? And I'm like, oh, cool. It's kind of like what you said.
Yeah, I'm actually really into like the idea. I mean, Ethan Hawke playing a villain, I think it's cool. He's a cult leader who encourages Mark to embrace the darkness within himself, is what it says here. And it says the trailer ends with Mark being enveloped by the Moon Knight costume and a shot of him brutally beating someone on the bathroom floor. I was like, holy shit. And also, unlike all of the Marvel Studio previous series for Disney Plus, which were based on existing characters from the company's pre 2019 feature films, Moon Knight kind of charts as kind of a brand new path with a totally new set of characters and a storyline that doesn't really have a clear initial connection to the MCU. So I'm kind of interested to see exactly where his character is going to go from here on out. Because, I mean, there's all this talk about the Illuminati and stuff that's being talked about, which is going to be a little. It's going to, if they do that, it's going to be different because so many of the founders of the Illuminati either haven't been introduced yet or are dead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that might be a thing. But I mean, there's a current iteration of the Illuminati in the comic books right now that exists with like a bunch of new people. So that either haven't been introduced yet or are still alive in the universe. So they could do that. But yeah, they also gave us the date of what is it? The 30th of what did I say? I just skipped over it.
March, right?
Or is that March 30th is when this is going to drop on Disney Plus. So I mean, there's something else we're going to be talking about going into the spring, doing our weekly roundups of, I guess. But
I'm sure we'll see more trailers and more stuff. So this is the first peek at it, I suppose.
yeah, also, yeah, this is the second year of Marvel putting things on Disney Plus. Also expected to come out this year are She-Hulk, which is supposed to be
Yeah.
which is being dubbed now as a legal comedy. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but whatever.
All right.
Let's see, Miss Marvel, the coming-of-age dramedy
All right.
starring Iman Vellani in the title role, and season 2 of What If. They announced that season 2 of What If is coming on Disney Plus.
Oh boy.
So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, the trailer for Moon Knight I thought was pretty dope. I mean, I thought the visuals were badass. I like Oscar Isaac's in the role. I think he's pretty dope. A lot of people are giving him shit over the accent.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I'm kind of like, come on, who cares? You guys bitch now because you need something to bitch about. The reality is, this thing's going to come out. It's going to probably be awesome. Because let's face it, Marvel doesn't miss too many opportunities. I mean, there's a couple of things they've flipped on, in my opinion, but for the most part, man, they're hitting homers left and right. So if you're going to give anybody the benefit of the doubt to make something that kicks ass, it's going to be Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, this man was in Star Wars. It's not like he's a fucking schlump, all right? He fucking knows what he's doing. I like him.
He's been great in a lot of things. I mean, did you ever see Ex Machina? Ex Machina?
No.
He was really good in that movie. It's a weird, like, dramatic sci-fi philosophical thing about creating AI and, you know, is it its own life or whatever. It was a crazy movie with a crazy ending. But he stars alongside Domhnall Gleeson in that movie as well. Like he did in Star Wars. But yeah, that was a really interesting movie. You should check that out if you haven't. But yeah, I'm ready for this. I mean, like I said, Marvel's not missed a lot. And this first trailer, I mean, all the footage we saw before this was already good. The first full trailer, even though you only really get to see Moon Knight in full form in the last like 2 seconds of the trailer, it's like it's interesting. I'm already intrigued as to the path this character is going to take. But that's just me. It's going to be coming in March. We'll be talking about it then. I have a feeling that we're going to be saying good things about it. I'm pretty sure. But before we move on, I do want to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon. And for just $5 a month, you get a chance to win $25 in free movie tickets to the theater of your choice. The pandemic hit the theater industry really, really hard. Not so much the production companies, even though it did, but really the people that work at the theaters, people in the box office, people that work at the concession stand. Now that some of these great films are finally starting to come back out in the theater and the release schedule is kind of getting back to normal, I want to get people out there, get them supporting these people in the community. A lot of them are high school, college-age kids. They're just trying to work their way through lives as they get started. Let's try to get out there and support these guys. And hopefully by supporting us for $5 a month, you get a chance to go support them as well. Also, it gives us a chance to try to help grow the channel here. That's something I'm really big on right now, is trying to grow the channel and get it a little bit bigger. It'll help us do that as well. And moving on, let's see. I guess we kind of have to get on to the kind of negative story about everything, and that's Joss Whedon. Months after allegations of mistreatment of actors in the set of Justice League, Joss Whedon finally broke his silence on the accusations made by Ray Fisher, among other actors that have worked under the director in the past. The director addressed allegations of poor treatment of actors, affairs, and physical abuse made by several actors, not only from the Justice League set, but also from the sets of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and its spin-off Angel. Jeremy, this is something that we've been hearing about now for most of the last year. I mean, what's your response to Whedon finally breaking his silence and giving you his side of the story?
It's only fair you hear both sides of the story, to be honest. So, I don't know. You can only take so much shit and just keep getting thrown at you saying that you're a terrible person and you treat people like shit. I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm like, well, do we want to talk about Stanley Kubrick? It could be worse. I'm not defending him, just saying, like, trust me, this, it's not like he's fucking making you do shit like that. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't fucking know Joss Whedon personally. Thank you for Firefly. But, hey, I just started getting Rachel into that. I swear to you. Literally the first thing out of her mouth out of the first episode was, and they only made one season of this? I'm like, yeah, it's gonna hurt more and more the closer we get to the end here. We just watched episodes 2 and 3 today, and again, after the third episode, she's like, fuck, like, right in the middle, like, fuck, I'm like, yeah, I know. Jesus, I'm telling you. Yeah. I don't know. This kind of goes back to that thing we were talking about earlier, where it's like, in respect to like Firefly, it's like, yeah, he makes some awesome shit, But I'm like, if you just didn't watch anyone who's ever made a movie, ever made music, ever done anything ever, you wouldn't fucking be doing anything. I mean, I don't know. We're all fucking humans. We all do dumb shit. I don't know him personally. I don't know how he treated people. This almost seemed, when you're like, oh, from Justice League, I'm like, who? Was it only fucking the dude who played Cyborg? Because he's the only one who seemed to have an issue with him. So I don't know who's butting heads with who. I don't know if he's acting like some sort of angel. He's like, yeah, Joss Whedon's a dickhead. I'm like, nah, well, I think it takes two to tango, buddy. I don't know what your problem is here. And that's why the original movie, he kind of got shit on, and I felt bad because I was like, yeah, you're kind of shitting on this one character, it seems like. And then the cut came out, and I'm like, that is so much better. So I'm kind of thinking, well, why would you? I don't know. I don't think that was his fault. I think that was a studio thing. So like when you watch the whole cut of Justice League, that's fleshed out a lot better.
Well,
and it just seems like now it's like, well, one person all it takes is one person saying one thing, and then everyone else wants to jump on, like, he treated me like shit in this movie, or yeah, he was fucking doing this on this show, and it just piles on top of you. I don't know. Everybody wants their fucking moment in Hollywood, I guess, even though you guys literally work there. Christ.
Well, there's a couple things to remember here. One,
I don't know. Just started hearing shit.
and something that for decades, almost a century, people have ignored is that Hollywood is a vile place. From its very beginning, it's been a cesspool of one person mistreating another to help make their own name. I mean, when all this Me Too stuff started, I was one of the people that was commenting on all these videos saying that even back in the 30s and 40s, it was common practice to look at one of these up-and-coming young 20-year-old actresses, and for some 50 or 60-year-old executive say, why don't you come into my office and do blah, blah, blah with me, and I get you this role. It's been an open secret in Hollywood for years. That doesn't make it okay. I think that needs to change. I think that needs to not be the way it's done anymore. But until the people that are there living in it change it, it's not going to change. Now, I personally think when it comes to Joss Whedon, he's probably one of those people that he wants things a certain way. He wants them done a certain way. He wants to achieve these goals a certain way. He's very particular. That's kind of one of the staples of any good director, is that it's their vision. It's like you're using the actors' performances to put together your vision for this story. And sometimes that works great between those two people, and sometimes it doesn't work very well. Now, he's probably one of those guys who's just really anal and really uptight about how to realize his vision of a film. But I mean, sometimes the way you can act, the way a person acts, can be a little much. Look, and I'm not free of this kind of stuff either. I mean, at my job,
Right.
I have certain ways that I want things done, and if I don't get them that certain way, and if it shows in the outcome of my work, I get a little pissed off. And there have been times where I've snapped at people. Now, I've never hit anybody or used racial slurs or done any of the things that he's been accused of, but it's kind of hard not to. It's kind of hard not to look at some of the accusations and be a little put off. When it comes to Gal Gadot, and they were talking about working together on Justice League, she apparently said that he threatened her career or something like threatened her career while working on Justice League, which Whedon took over after original director Zack Snyder withdrew following his family tragedy. To this, Whedon said, "I don't threaten people who does that. English is not her first language, and I tend to be annoyingly flowery in my speech. I don't know if by flowery you mean do this or I'm going to kick your ass. That doesn't really sound flowery to me, but whatever. I mean, maybe we have different versions of what's flowery." He said that Whedon had told Godot that she would have to tie his body to a railroad track before he would cut a scene she wanted removed, and that Godot misunderstood Whedon threatening to tie her to a railroad track instead. For her part, Godot's response to the story was, "I understood perfectly," which I wasn't there. I don't know what the conversation was. Look, I know that English isn't her first language, but I've heard her speak in interviews. I've heard her speak in movies. She knows plenty of English. It's like,
Yeah, she's still got a pretty thick accent of, she was Israeli, right?
she is Israeli, yeah.
Like, yeah, but she speaks English pretty fucking well, I would say. Like, well enough. I don't know. I don't think there's much in the way of being lost in translation. I don't know.
Yeah, and then for the rest of it, Whedon was less forgiving of his assessment of Ray Fisher. The actor's July 2020 allegation that Whedon's behavior making Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable was the spark that led to the collapse of Whedon's career. In December of 2020, Warner Brothers said an investigation of Fisher's claims resulted in unspecified remedial action. I don't know what that means. After HBO said Whedon was withdrawing as executive producer of The Nevers. Here, when it comes to this stuff with Ray Fisher, there's one thing that's always jumped out at me that's always bothered me. Ray Fisher has never ever come out, despite being asked several times in several interviews by several journalists. He's never come out and said specifically any specific things that Whedon did that upset him. He's always just said he was bad, he was terrible, he was a jerk. It's like, okay, great, he was mean, he was a director. Congratulations, you're a young guy in Hollywood, and let's face it, Ray Fisher does not have the cred of like The Rock or Tom Cruise or one of these guys that makes billions of dollars. It's like, so you can't expect to walk Joss Whedon, especially after he was 15 minutes out of developing everything up to the Avengers for the MCU, and he had that kind of success. You can't expect us to walk in there and to have somebody like Joss Whedon bow to your desires as the actor, for one. But for two, again, he's never ever said exactly anything specifically that Whedon had done. Now, if he would have come out and said, yeah, Whedon called me a racial slur, or Whedon slapped me, or Whedon threatened me, it would have been different. But he's never ever come out with anything other than vague little tidbits of things that he said he thought were not right. You know what I mean? There's
And like I said, he's the only one who seems to have butted heads with Joss Whedon. And
oh, no, he's not the only one that butted heads. But he's the one that seems to be the loudest voice in this chorus against Joss Whedon.
That's what I mean. Like, who else?
He's never really been able to give any solid, specific accusations of what he had done, at least to Ray Fisher.
That's what I mean. Like,
so that's always been the one thing that's kind of stuck out to me about this whole thing, which is why I've kind of not really been on Joss Whedon's side about all this, but I've been kind of standoffish about even forming an opinion because I've never heard much of anything up until, of course, this article broke, and it broke down a lot of it. But Fisher did allege in a Forbes magazine interview in October that he was told that Whedon had lightened an actor of color's complexion in Justice League because he didn't like the skin tone. So he's heard something secondhand that may or may not be true.
Possible deniability.
Well, I mean,
I'm just saying, it's like, look, are you really, like you said, are you shocked? Like, oh no, the big mean director came in and hurt your feelings that day. Fucking really, dude? You're in Hollywood, and did you expect everything to be, what do you say, flowery? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I don't understand.
I'm not saying like quit crying about it, but I'm like, dude, I mean, what did you expect?
Yeah,
I don't know.
even when he
Yeah.
was asked to, sorry, I'm handling some more of the Russian trolls in the chat.
I'm not even paying attention to it.
But even when he was asked about Joss Whedon's comments in this article, Fisher said, "Looks like Joss Whedon." He said this on Twitter. Actually, he didn't even like. He didn't actually say this to anybody. He put it on Twitter so he wouldn't be able to like actually have to answer any of the stuff. It looks like Joss Whedon got to direct an Endgame after all, which is actually a really stupid joke. Rather than address all of the lies and buffoonery today, I will be celebrating the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. tomorrow. The work continues. Of course, this was the day before.
Okay.
This was Sunday, the day before Martin Luther King Day. It was.
A way to shoehorn that in. That had nothing to do with your fucking shut up.
Yeah, I didn't like his response at all. It was a dodge. It was I'm gonna hide behind this. It's like, okay, I'm a black guy who's celebrating Martin Luther King Day. That's why you can't bother me today.
Yeah, I'm like, that's great, dude, but that had nothing to do with.
Yeah, you made accusations. I mean, you either did or didn't make these accusations. What are you fucking doing?
You're like, oh, I'm better than that. I'm above this, and I have no time for it. I want to do this. I'm like, okay, again, great, but that has nothing to do. Okay, thanks for telling us your Monday plans, dude. I don't care.
Yeah, but there were other allegations.
I don't know.
Fisher's allegations were followed in February of 2021 by actor Charisma Carpenter's allegation that Whedon was casually cruel to her while making Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know what casually cruel means. Whatever. And its spin-off series Angel, including calling her fat after she became pregnant and asking her if she was going to keep it. That I don't know. Is that casually cruel?
I don't know. I like to think of myself as probably casually cool. I just cruel. I walk by someone at work. I'm like, hey, Johnny, fuck you. Bye. Have a great day.
I don't.
You know what I mean?
I don't understand. Look, there's a difference between casually cruel and mean, and that to me is not casually cruel. That's mean. I mean,
yeah.
You don't. I mean, generally speaking, you don't call a woman fat to begin with. That's not particularly nice. But it's like, and then you find out she's pregnant, and if your response is, "Are you going to keep it?" That's a deeply personal question to ask. I mean,
it's a little fucked up.
Whatever your thoughts on abortion might be, that's a pretty shitty question to ask a woman. I mean, that's not generally something that you just ask in open forum like that. So I don't really know what casually cruel means. And again, this isn't Joss Whedon saying he is sometimes casually cruel. This was Charisma Carpenter saying he was casually cruel. That doesn't seem casually cruel to me.
You're the accuser. You can say whatever you want. That's how that works.
But several other actors on these shows, including Sarah Michelle Gellar, David Boreanaz, and Elijah Dushku, expressed support for Carpenter. And a subsequent investigation by Variety backed the actor's story. Multiple people who worked on both shows says Whedon created a cult of personality, and that he behaved with scorn and disparagement to employees who displeased him. Again, this is Hollywood. I'm not saying I'm not saying it's okay if he acts like an asshole, but you're in a place where this kind of behavior has been the norm for a century. So I mean, I don't know. You're going to have to deal with some people who are very specific about what they want and how they get it. And I don't know where the line is between that and acting like an absolute asshole, like he's been accused of. But there is a line somewhere between it, I think. What else to say? A person with direct knowledge of production on Buffy the Vampire Slayer corroborated to Variety. Michelle Trachtenberg's claims on Instagram that there was a rule she could not be alone with Whedon.
Nice.
Which, that doesn't sound good. As for Trachtenberg's allegations, Whedon said he had no idea what that was about. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe they just didn't tell him. Who the hell knows? But, let's see. Whedon admitted to having an affair with, let's see. Where is the name? I don't know if I actually put her name in here. Do you remember the Buffy? A member of the Buffy production team claimed that Whedon had an affair with her. He admitted to having the affair, but said the story seemed false because he lived in terror that his affairs would be discovered. This was on some accusation that he was actually rolling around on the floor, making out with some girl in his office in front of people. That seems a bit much. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
You do you, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But let's see. Oh, here's another affair. Aaron Shade, who worked as an assistant on the ABC Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which Whedon co-created, said that Whedon engaged her in a secret relationship when she was 23 and he was 49, including paying her $2,500 to watch him write at his home over the weekend, so long as she hid the relationship from her boss.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, okay, Joss Whedon's a dog. I get it, and I don't think that's a good thing to do, but
No.
I don't know. Now, Whedon did say in this interview he should have handled the situation better. Joss, I'm willing to bet you could have handled several situations a little bit better.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, Joss Whedon's probably a prick. I mean, I'm going to put it out there like that. I mean, creatively, I love all the stuff that he's done, but
Yeah, same.
I find it hard to really believe anything Ray Fisher says. A, because he's never been really specific, and B, he's always seemed to run away. It's not like he says, I don't want to be specific because I don't want this to be any bigger. I don't want to handle this as quietly as possible. He is purposefully evading opportunities to lay it out bit by bit and say, this is what he said, this is what he did, this is how he acted, this is what I know, these are the conversations we have. He's, time after time, has just avoided any opportunity to make his case. So I don't really understand his part in all this. It feels like he's just trying to get involved to keep his name out there. Because let's face it, since Justice League, what has he done?
Yep.
I'm sure he's done something. I have no fucking clue what it is.
That's what I mean. Yeah, I mean, I hate to just, like you said, I hate to be like, well, sorry, little buddy. You're not Al Pacino. You can't walk into a fucking room and be like, all right, look, this is how it's going to be. Or I don't know how the fuck. Well, I don't know what Al Pacino does. I don't know him either. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You don't necessarily have the gravitas to be fucking, acting like everyone's just going to be kissing your ass. Like, I'm just being realistic here, man. Like,
well, he even said, where's the one quote I thought was kind of fun?
You just kind of have to take it on the shoulder a little bit. Like, Jesus. Now, like you said, if you're getting like racial slurs slung at you, yeah, that's a fucking issue. That's a problem.
Well, here's one of the things. Here's one of the things that makes me not trust at least Fisher's part in all this. Let's see. After the release of Snyder's 4-hour cut of Justice League on HBO Max, Fisher alleged that when he tried to express his concerns about the reduction of his character Cyborg in Whedon's 2-hour version of the movie, Whedon told him, "It feels like I'm making notes right now, and I don't like taking notes from anybody, not even Robert Downey Jr." Like, okay, bro. Nice. I don't even know if that's throwing shade at RDJ or not. It's just like, whatever. But, yeah.
All right.
This whole thing, look, don't act like an ass. Don't ask women stupid questions like, are you going to keep it if you find out they're pregnant? Look, he clearly is kind of a dick. He cheated around his wife with at least one girl, as outlined in this article. He probably was a bit of a stickler for his particular brand of doing things on set. But, I mean, look, other than saying a few inconsiderate things, I don't know what they're really talking about. I mean, they're even vague when they talk about how they found, I don't know, what was the words that they used? I forget all of a sudden. Remedial action.
Yeah.
Resulted in unspecified remedial action. Well, remedial means basic. It means fairly low key, not exactly a big deal. I mean, so what is remedial? Did you fine him $5,000, or what did you? I don't understand what remedial means, but
something that's obviously not well enough to actually be specific as to what the fuck it was. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, if it's remedial, that means what you found that he did is probably remedial. So I don't really understand.
If it's not big enough a deal to say anything about, then
yeah, I don't really understand all this. But anyway,
I don't know.
Look, Joss Whedon.
Somebody was mean to me in Hollywood.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Joss Whedon is probably he's probably not going to get a job again in Hollywood, at least not for a long, long time. Which is a tremendous disappointment because I mean, dude, he is Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He orchestrated all that. He orchestrated all that before the Russo brothers came in and shepherded it the rest of the way through Infinity War and Endgame. And you can't really knock anything that came out of Phase 1.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like you said, it could be a long time. You never... I mean, one example that popped in my head when you said that was Mel Gibson. Like, he had a rough fucking time there for a minute, but then he was kind of just not there, and then all of a sudden he started directing movies and shit, and I'm like, and you know what? He can fucking direct a goddamn movie.
He's a hell of a director.
No doubt.
Yeah, we talked not too long about him directing a new installment of the Lethal Weapon franchise. So
yeah, and it's like, well, he can come back, and I mean, I know that's an actor to a director, but whatever. It's the same like even just when I think that was Disney of all fucking people took a chance on. I mean, we're not talking about it, but talking about fucking Tim Allen, we're like, that guy that got arrested for having cocaine. Sure, he should be Santa Claus in a fucking kids movie. Yeah. Later, he'll be a fucking fun little space ranger toy. Sure. And everybody was freaking the fuck out about Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man. You're like, oh shit, that guy? Okay. And he's proven, obviously, like, look, man, he can turn it around. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But, I mean, whatever your thoughts on Joss Whedon and his whole situation, go down in the comments below and let us know. Because I have a feeling that it may take more time, but I have a feeling that more stuff's going to come out about this. But, I mean, Joss Whedon, like I said, I think he'll probably direct again. Probably not anything at the level of Marvel. But there's probably going to be some smaller movies out there that somebody's going to reach out to him and want to do. But, yeah, go down in the comments and let us know what you guys think. Because Joss Whedon went from basically running the MCU to this in the span of a couple of years. And then to top it off, he ended up not making a very good Justice League movie. I mean, sure, he was only half responsible for it, but at the same time, he got the director's credit, so it's all on him. But go down in the comments below, let us know what you guys think about the interview that Joss Whedon gave, finally addressing all the accusations of mistreatment by Ray Fisher and many other people. But moving on. Jeremy, there's been word that there may be a big surprise cameo coming in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. According to comicbookreview.com, which is not always the best site for some of this stuff, so take all this with a grain of salt. John Krasinski has been on set to film scenes as, quote, a variant of Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four. It's worth noting that there has been no official confirmation regarding the inclusion of John Krasinski. The first official trailer confirms Scarlet Witch and America Chavez, while seemingly teasing what many believe to be Strange Supreme from the animated What If series. Jeremy, do you think Krasinski has actually filmed scenes, or is this all just fake news?
I don't know. I don't know. If someone saw him on set, especially on set of that, it probably raises some questions, but that seemed kind of specific. They're like, oh yeah, he's a variant of Reed Richards. I'm like, okay, sure, cool. I mean, all right, since we're not probably going to get, I don't know, maybe we'll have the original dude come back. It'd just be kind of a funny joke that, oh yeah, this is a different, I don't know. I don't know if they're trying to separate, that was Fox, right? They originally did.
Yeah, the first two Fantastic Four movies were done under the Fox banner.
Actually, wasn't the other one too? That god awful one they tried to do again in like 2015.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about that one. Yeah,
I was like, wait a minute. I know that's okay. We all did. Yeah. We're trying to. Yeah. So I mean, it's not technically like this isn't just like MCU stuff. It's kind of like, well, yeah, the X-Men is Marvel, but they're not in the thing. You know what I mean? They're not in the big club, but everyone else. So maybe he could. I mean, that's how you play that joke. It's a multiverse. This guy could be a different Reed Richards, but he could just be the Reed Richards that we're going to get. I don't know. It seems kind of specific, and again, if you're on set, that kind of raises questions. But I'm sorry, the thing with we're getting there with Scream is that I keep forgetting that they do things now with trailers or stuff like that where they film something just specifically for that they never fucking end up using just to throw us off. Just kind of dumb because I'm like, I know you can't make assumptions because and look, I was Leatherface. Fuck. That's not till February. I totally forgot about that. When Ghostface comes in and he says, "Hello, Sydney, it's an honor." I'm like, so what's that mean? Who is that? Is it someone? What the fuck? And I'm like, that never happened. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot they do that. Wow. Forgot they show little middle fingers in your face. So maybe it could just be nothing. But again, I don't know why you go through all the trouble to be on set to film shit and just for it to be nothing. I don't know.
Well, we don't actually know that he's been on set.
Look, that just seems really specific. They're like, oh yeah, he's Reed Richards. I'm like, and you know this how? What?
Well, the timing to this is all kind of interesting to me because we're getting this. What is it due to come out? May 4th.
No. Spring, yeah. Oh, Star Wars Day. Nice, that's a good day.
So we're a little more than 3 months and a week or so away from this thing. This is about the time where they're going to start to ramp up the marketing, because we've seen them ramp up the marketing for Batman in the last couple of weeks too. So,
Yeah.
so it's like, well, this would be about the time where they would start to leak little things like this. Now, I think this is much more than a little leak.
Well, that's a
this
big
this
deal.
is a
Yeah.
rather big piece of news, but this would be about the time where Marvel would start letting little things like this happen. Because let's face it, what Tom Holland is not accidentally leaking shit. I mean, it's all planned. I mean, we all like to have fun with, oh, what did Tom Holland say now? Blah, blah, blah. We all like to have fun with that shit, but we all know that's just planned. So
He says something, tase the kid.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
Right.
Marvel is not going to let something like this go unless they want it out there. So I'm thinking, if it's true, the leak had to have come from Marvel. It had to have been somebody at Marvel saying, you know what, we're going to go ahead and leak that he was filming some scenes, and we're going to leak that he may be a variant of Reed Richards. We're gonna leak all this stuff accidentally. I mean, because that's what they do. Look, if Marvel doesn't want something getting out, Marvel doesn't let it get out. That's just the way that goes. But there was some other stuff that had come out in an article I was reading, in this article from Comic Book Review. Now, listen, again, I do have to say this again. CBR.com is comicbookreview.com. They are right as many times as they are wrong. They've gotten a whole lot of things wrong over the course of the last several years. Notably, some things wrong. So take everything you get from that website with a grain of salt. I've heard that they're really, really good about actually reviewing comic books, which is what their primary focus is.
I would hope so.
But when it comes to breaking stories like this, they tend to flub a lot of them. So again, take all this with a grain of salt. But there were also a wide variety of rumors concerning characters that may or may not appear in the Multiverse of Madness. It was recently reported that actor Ben Affleck was approached to reprise his role of Daredevil from the 2003 film. It's uncertain if Affleck will ultimately be involved, which I really don't think he's going to. It has also been suggested that Charles Xavier will appear playing an unknown role in Strange's universe adventures throughout the multiverse. This particular rumor stemmed from previously leaked image featuring Mordo, Xavier Strange, and two figures resembling Ultron bots, but the legitimacy of that image could not be verified. So,
you're gonna really put Charles Xavier in there, then you really then have to explain why the X-Men are there.
But I mean, they are playing around with this multiverse thing that started in Spider-Man. So,
well, and here's the thing: which one is it going to be? I mean, I would love for it to be Patrick Stewart, but I mean, is it going to be? What's his fucking? What's his face?
Yeah, McAvoy.
Yeah, James McAvoy. Sorry, I'm usually better about that. It's probably going to be James McAvoy, I guess, if anything. But I'm not saying I wouldn't love Patrick Stewart to come in there for just one more. Come on, you just want to do it. You're going to get a big cheer. Fuck it. Why not just put? Well, because remember that Old Man Logan thing was actually not I mean, it was an alternate timeline of that particular story. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. Put Hugh Jackman in there. I don't know.
Yeah, Fox and their continuity train wreck, whatever.
It was a fucking amazing movie. I don't even care. It basically was Old Man Logan's story, but like, I know it's not, so to speak, the actual. I know it's an alternate kind of timeline of it, of the X-Men shit, to try and make that story come alive. But yeah. I don't know.
But yeah,
bring back what's her face as fucking X-23, man. I want to see more with her. Like, I was excited that might have been where we were going. Like,
I think Fox wanted to do something like that, and then eventually they were just like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna sell this shit to Disney." And the Disney was like, whatever. We're just gonna fold everybody into the MCU, and we're gonna start over again with Wolverine and Xavier and all these guys.
You got something there. I'm just saying, like, again, that what's her name, Daphne Keane or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's her name.
If you look. When they were doing like line readings back and forth, like her and Hugh Jackman, if Patrick Stewart was there, and if Patrick fucking Stewart, Patrick fucking Stewart said, "This girl, her," I mean, you gonna let that just run right past you all the way to Canada, where she's apparently at? I don't know. I know X-23 was like a little older. She was in like her 20s or some shit in that animated thing they did with her. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe when she's a little older, but just please do something with her. It'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, but I for one, I really don't think this is something they would let leak unless they leaked it on their own. So part of me really wants to believe it, but again, I have to remember the source. And like I said, Comic Book Review has just not been good about things like this. So
It could be that funny meta thing of like Men in Black, where they're like, "Oh yeah, tabloids. That's how we get our information. It's legit." I'm like, yeah, because aliens, right? That's the joke.
One of the things I think was interesting though is they in parentheses have that he is playing a variant of Reed Richards, and I thought, why that word is weird to me, considering everything that we saw in the Loki series.
Loki. Well, yeah, he could just be a different version. I mean, like I said, we already have the apparent Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange, so I'm like, well, stands to reason. I mean, there's going to be other, and that's how you can do that. That's the funny caveat of having a multiverse like that. You can bring in like, okay, there's this guy. That's not the Reed Richards you know, because those movies were and then the other one we don't talk about. I don't know. It's a fun way to shoehorn that in.
Well,
just don't do what you did to Venom. Like I saw a meme the other day where it's like him and Venom on the beach, and it's like, what was it like? Gets drunk, joins the MCU, or joins the MCU, gets drunk, leaves. I'm like, fuck. I'm like, damn. Yeah, don't just. I don't know.
But that's what's got me wondering. It's like if he's in this movie and he's shooting scenes where he's playing the character Reed Richards, the like I said, that they have variant in quotations when they're describing him. Does that mean he's just in for this movie and they're just warming us up for whoever's going to be playing Reed Richards long term? Because we're getting to that point where we're going to be seeing the Fantastic Four pop in. I mean, because Kevin Feige said 5-6 years ago, he's like, it's going to be 4 or 5 years before we really start to work any of this stuff that we just got from Fox into the MCU. We're there. And,
yeah.
I mean, after we've already got Blade showed up, sort of, his voice did, in the post-credit scene of Eternals. I mean, we're moving forward into this area now that not Whedon, that Kevin Feige said we were going to be getting to about this time. So, I mean, it's not too crazy to think that Reed Richards is going to show up in this movie. I mean, he exists in New York. That's where the Baxter Building is. There is this long-running rumor that when Tony Stark was selling Avengers Tower in Spider-Man Homecoming, that he was actually selling it to Reed Richards, and that's going to be the new Baxter Building in the future. They've never really showed it like that any other way, but
that makes sense.
There's been a long-running rumor that that's one way they're going to bring the Fantastic Four into the universe. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like even this is possible, but again, I cannot trust Comic Book Review as a source. Nobody else is really running with this.
Well, and that's the thing, is you were saying that even back when we were doing WandaVision, is that, which is funny because she's in this movie. You said, like, Monica Rambeau said, like, oh yeah, I have an engineer friend. And you're like, oh, is it Reed Richards? I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. That'd be dope. And I don't know. But if this is a variant, I mean, I don't know. It's
and that's the thing that gets me is after everything that we saw in Loki, the fact that they're referring to him and even putting in quotation marks in the article, variant of Reed Richards. I was like, it's a little on the nose. But really, we're ultimately going to have to wait and see. I mean, we've got this in a few months, so we're going to see. But this is about the time where you would start getting leaks and having stuff ramped up for the marketing for this movie. We're getting to that point, so I have a feeling we're probably going to see another really, really big trailer in the Super Bowl in February, and we're only 3 or 4 weeks away from the Super Bowl. We are. Let me go to my playoff prediction thing real quick. We are 1, 2. Yeah, we're 3 weeks away. We're 3 weeks away from the Super Bowl, kids. And so I have a feeling in the next 3 weeks, probably on Super Bowl Sunday, we're going to be getting a couple of big movie trailers for the first time in the Super Bowl in a long time. Because movie trailers in the Super Bowl haven't been a big thing for a while. I think this Super Bowl we're going to see a few. I think with the release schedule getting back to a more normal thing, hopefully it'll stay that way and no more, variants of Megatron virus or whatever will come.
Variants.
No more variants in quotation. Variants. No more will pop
Right.
up. We'll still be able to keep a regular release schedule from now on. But yeah, it's going to be a busy year coming up for a lot of places. So hopefully Super Bowl is going to bring us a couple of big new trailers, and hopefully this will be one of them. Because February, let's see, March 4th. Is that what I said? Is that when this comes out? Yeah, that's May 4th. May 4th.
I was watching the chat now because I was like, well, I didn't have my phone open at all to even look at the fucking chat, so now I am.
Yeah, May 4th. May 4th is when the movie
Star Wars
drops. So mid-February is going to be a perfect time to drop one more really, really big trailer, and then there'll be another final trailer that will drop in the week before the movie comes out. So I don't know. It sounds like it'd be about the right time for another big trailer, and maybe he'll be in that one. Maybe we'll find out then. I don't know. But I don't know. Go down in the comments below and let us know what you guys think. Do you think John Krasinski has actually been on the set filming scenes for Doctor Strange as a variant of Reed Richards? If I had to give it a percentage over/under, I would give it probably about a 25% chance, and I think that's being pretty damn generous. I don't know. What do you think, Jeremy? Do you think it's over or under 25% that he's actually been on set filming scenes as a variant of Reed Richards?
It does seem... I don't know. It seems about, like you said, about the right time. However, I don't know. Kind of seems out of left wing. So maybe I bid $1, Bob. I'll fuck. I don't know. I was gonna say 20%. I'll lower. I don't know. We just don't know right now. If the next fucking trailer or some big shit happens and comes out there wearing a fucking Fantastic Four suit, I mean, I'm gonna lose my mind. But yeah, I will be glad to be wrong if that's the case.
I don't know. Go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. And before we move on, I do want to remind you guys that we do have a Discord. And that's where the movie talk can continue on 24/7 all the time. We have all kinds of spoiler discussions on there that we have. There's a general area where you can just go talk about random movie stuff. Casey puts a lot of his videos in there, like anybody's even really active on my Discord all that much anyway. There's also different areas where you can talk spoilers about specific shows that we talk about. Everything from WandaVision all the way to things like the Book of Boba Fett. And you guys can just go on there and just talk movies all the time. So, yeah, David Patrick says, not sure if he talked about it, but rumors of Tom Cruise as Iron Man. That's something I don't know if it's actually true or not. There is some rumor running around out there that Tom Cruise is going to be playing a variant of Iron Man in like some weird cameo in Doctor Strange 2. I don't know. I don't think it would be significant. I think it would be fun, but I don't think it would be significant enough to I don't think we would think that it's going to be that he's going to take over as Tony Stark in the MCU. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that would be a fun cameo, and I think it would be exactly the kind of thing that he would have fun doing, and it would be a nice little Easter egg to the fans. But I don't see it happening like that. I don't think so. But that's just my thoughts on it. But anyway, moving on. Let's see. I lost my leads. There they are. As soon as they come up. Come on, computer. There we go. I should have printed these out ahead of time like I usually do. But episode 4 of the Book of Boba Fett released this week to rather mixed reviews. The episode was mostly flashbacks of how the legendary bounty hunter met and teamed up with Fennec Shand. Jeremy, you're all caught up on the Book of Boba Fett. What did you think of this episode? I was kind of blah about the whole thing. What do you think?
I don't know. Every time I see that goddamn back tank, I get fucking triggered because I'm like, God fucking damn it, we're gonna do it again, are we? I'm mildly annoyed by it a little bit. I'm not. Look, I love Star Wars. I love Boba Fett. I don't know if it's enough to really take me out of it, but I'm just kind of like, okay, but are we gonna do this again? I mean, fine. If we're gonna have a flashback, and I like that we're leading up to. And I guess I'll say it now with, we saw him there in the desert. We saw the flares going off or whatever the fuck. We know what that means. No who's over that hill. That was almost, I want to say it, that was almost my sign for two reasons. That being one, I almost put Where is Daddy Mando? Because there was that, because I'm like, we're not going to show him, but like we know that's what was going on. And I don't know if we really needed an explanation of like, okay, well, we know he found Fennec Shan after the whole encounter with Mando. But I don't know. Because when I opened Disney and I saw like, oh, Fennec Shan agrees to team up with Boba Fett, I'm like, didn't they already do that? Huh? I don't know why I didn't think, oh, it's a flashback. For 2 seconds, I saw a goddamn tank, and I'm sitting there having his old nappy nap. I'm like, fucking. Although, hold on, that was it the droid? He came out and gave him a little towel and he said, "Congratulations, Mr. Fett, you're all healed." I'm like, good, are we going to stop doing that? We seem to have gotten up to the point where we're at now. Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not been fond of the flashback so far. And the fact that they made this entire episode pretty much one big flashback, I was like, I don't really... It's like, I know that they came together. I mean, if you want to tell me the story in bits and pieces over the flashbacks, great. But are you really going to burn almost an entire episode of a very, very limited 6-run episode series just on flashbacks? I was like, I'm not really jiving that. That was not the creative decision that I would have made.
And I didn't need to see her get her little cyberpunk moment. And that was just kind of weird. Like, I know that's probably a thing in this universe because I'm not gonna diss it because I'm like, well, does anyone understand what 80% of Darth Vader is? Is fucking machinery and a life support system. So I get it. She took one to the fucking gut, and he basically C-3PO'd her fucking stomach, and it looks all fucking mechanical now. Cool. I'm like, I didn't really need to know that, but all right, great.
Yeah, I was a bit underwhelmed by most of this episode. Now, granted, we've talked a lot about, with all the stuff that we've seen on Disney Plus, mostly the Marvel stuff, there is always this one episode that's just kind of like moving the pieces. It's not very action-packed, it's just moving the pieces to where they need to be for this final push towards the end of the story. It's happened in both seasons of Mandalorian, really. It happened in WandaVision, we talked about it. It happened in Loki, we talked about it that whole time they were on the Purple Planet. I think that's what that was. All these series tend to have that one episode. But it's really, really hard to justify putting that one episode in when you've only got 6 episodes to tell your story anyway.
Yeah.
It's like,
what are we leading to?
Yeah, I mean, you can't just make those incremental step-by-step movements from the beginning of your story to the end. You have to have this one weird episode where it's not filler, it's not throwaway, but it doesn't do a lot to push the story forward. It just gives you like a little holding area to hang out until you're ready to make that final step. Why waste an entire episode? Why waste an entire 30 or 40-minute episode on that? I don't get it.
The only thing now that I admit that I did like was them taking the Slave One back. Like, that was kind of cool. Because cool. Admittedly, it's an iconic ship. It's pretty badass. I like it. That was fun to watch them try and take that big bitch out of there. Which is like, oh, we're going to go in quiet. I'm like, you're not taking the ship out of there quietly, but sure. Like, you'll get there, but getting out may be a fucking issue. And I get him looking for his armor. And maybe that's just a kind of... Even if he didn't quite get... The reason he didn't die is because of the Beskar. If you're in the Sarlacc pit, yeah, you're going to be digested, and you're going to be sitting there in the acid, and you're going to die. I get that, and I'm like, well, yeah, he doesn't remember... He remembers being in the pit, coming out, and then not having his armor, so he probably thought it was still in there. I don't know. I get that, and it almost fucking swallowed the Slave One, which was kind of cool too.
That was pretty wild. I kind of dug that part.
And I know that shot that where that bomb comes out of the back. I'm like, oh, you just want to do the noise because everyone loves that. Like, it's like silent. That fucking noise that bomb makes is just, it gives you chills a little bit. It's so cool. I'm like, I know that's fan service. You just want to hear that bomb go off again. Yeah. Other than that, I guess. And then saw him take the throne from Bib Fortuna, and then he had his little fucking Godfather moment sitting down with the fucking 5 families or fucking whatever. And of course, there's always that one dick who just, is just being a dick. And one fucking nail. I'm like, look, he's gonna be the one. And I get it when she says, "Do you trust him?" And it's kind of like, oh, they're gonna act in their best interest. I'm like, yeah. I don't know. I would have rather watched a whole fucking training episode with Danny Trejo and the fucking Rancor. Like, I would have. That would have been
I
more.
will be wildly disappointed if that one little bit of Danny Trejo is all we get for this season. I will be wildly
Yeah,
disappointed because I was so happy to see him roll up in there with that Rancor. I was like, oh, I need Danny Trejo in this series. That's what this series needs. But
I know we kind of saw the Rancor, but like, come on, give me that like cheesy ass fucking '80s training montage with Danny Trejo and the Mando. Come on.
well, I mean, let me ask you this: Has it seems to me like Boba Fett has not hit the way that a lot of people wanted it to hit. Have you been at all disappointed by this series so far, or has it been what you thought it would be?
I'm. I would say this episode kind of because I'm excited and I'm like again that's how I felt in general about Boba Fett. I'm like yeah he's more than that. I know he's more badass than he deserved a little more, which I was excited for. This is what I thought that series was gonna do, and I do like his little like I just love watching him do his thing and just fucking he's got like I said what I said last time Death Star sized balls. You know, I wouldn't have stared down that Wookiee either. Like fucking shit, dude. But and he stood there in front of those two huts, like, fine, you want it, you gotta come kill me for it. I'm like, Jesus, dude. However, I don't know. I hope this is leading to something wild because if we're talking about there's a spark of some sort of war that's gonna fucking happen here, and it's probably gonna happen real quick.
Yeah, I mean, this was chapter 4. We've got 2 episodes left. I have a feeling the next 2 episodes are going to be big. Now, even Mandalorian at a couple points has seemed like it's kind of not drug a bit, but it's plateaued. But it always seems to
Yeah,
finish really strong in the last 2 or 3 episodes. The first 2 seasons have anyway. They finished
true.
really strong with the last 2 or 3 episodes. I'm confident they'll do the same thing with this. But again, I just don't understand why, if you've only got 6 episodes to tell the story, why you waste one of them on flashbacks. I mean, because this episode was 90% flashback, and I was like, you could have spent 5 or 10 minutes of flashback in each episode, and spaced it all out to where Mando's flashbacks catch up to or not Mando, but to Boba Fett's flashbacks catch up to where he is once we get to the end of episode 6. And like I said, we're talking about the last couple episodes, make his little flashbacks relevant to what he's experiencing in real time. But I don't understand. It's a weird creative choice, and I think it slows down the progression of the story. And that's not a good thing when you've got a limited number of episodes to tell it in. If this was 8 episodes, I wouldn't be as bothered. But we've only got 6, and you
I'm
spent
not gonna let
one of
it.
them kind of wasting time.
I'm not gonna let it ruin it for me. But I mean, look, I'm not gonna be mad if this motherfucker rides out on a Rancor and just starts wrecking shop on these fucking criminal syndicate people. I'm like,
I
okay.
have a feeling that's coming too.
I know. I'm like, that's why in the back of my head, I'm like, that's gotta come to fruition. You can't just throw me that and then tell me it's not gonna happen. Like, man. And hold on, can I? When he was talking to the Bantha, also I've noticed like why does it seem like Boba Fett has this weird like animal magnetism about him? Like, you know what I mean? Like the fucking Rancor is cool with them. We learn they're actually not. They're like the pit bulls of fucking Star Wars creatures. They're not. They look big and scary and they can fight, but that's not what. It's not what they're about. With the fucking Bantha, he's talking to her all sweet like it's his fucking dog or something. Like I don't know what it is, but it's a weird, quirky thing that I'm just kind of okay with. I don't know.
I don't
He'll
know.
hold a little droid up by the neck and be like, "You know who I am? I'm Boba Fett." But he'll pet a Rancor and scratch his belly and he'll let his leg kick or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people also shitting on a piece of dialogue that's in this episode where he says, I'm not in it for the money." And a lot of people are like, "That's really he's Boba Fett. He's a fucking bounty hunter. That's all he's ever been in it for."
Well, but that's not the point. Was he's not trying to be that anymore because he
Well,
was saying like, "Look, I don't want people running my life anymore. Like people like us that dipshits that get us killed because they don't care about us. We're just there to do their work and do jobs for them."
yeah,
So he's like, "I kind of want to be master of my own world here." I'm like, that makes sense if that's all your life was.
the
You
way
know.
I took it is that it's not that he's not just in it single-mindedly for the money. That he understands that maybe, yeah, I did the bounty hunter thing for a while and made my money at it, but I think there's more profit, not necessarily money, but profit in being the boss as opposed to just going around and,
being the muscle.
Capturing somebody for somebody else and then cashing a check afterwards. I kind of think that's where he's going with this. But I do understand why some people are kind of like, that piece of dialogue doesn't really work. I might have rewritten it a little bit differently and made it sound different, but
maybe it sounds out of character, but that is his arc right now. Is he's not being a bounty hunter anymore. Yeah. He's just trying to, trying to be something different. Very true. Although, because it's also the Wookiee Fight Club. I mean, come on, what the fuck was that? He had like a rage moment, just fucking went ape shit on everybody. Like what? They're trying to play their game, bro.
He could probably have killed everybody in that damn building, and I would have loved to do it.
And again, I love that they had like a little, hey, like, hey, good to see you too, man. Like shit.
I am kind of disappointed though. It's like, because like when Black Krrsantan, or I know I'm never gonna pronounce his name right. Krrsantan, that's it. Black Krrsantan pops up. It's like, and they shoot that look at each other the first time they meet, and it's like, and me and you were talking about it. It's like, we want to see these guys throw hands. Like, this is the fight that I want the season to end on. That's going to be the big matchup right there. And we kind of got it when he surprises Boba Fett and pulls him out of his sleep deprivation chamber. And but even that to me wasn't a great fight. It was just like a setup, I thought, because basically he kicked Boba Fett's ass all around his own bedroom. And then the people rolled in there and stopped him, and then they put him in the cave to hold him. But I was just like, okay, if that's the warm-up fight to the big fight that we're going to get, I'm fine. And then it was just like, okay, we're going to go ahead and let you go because the Hutts came in and were like, okay, we're backing off, whatever, which I still don't quite believe. And then
then the Hutts just fucked off. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, you're free to go. And it's like, well... And then he shows up here and offers him a job. I'm like, wait a minute. I feel like I've been cheated out of that match that I want to see.
I still want to see that Wookiee just wreck shop too. I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, watching him kick a bunch of people's asses all up and down Tatooine and back is great. But I wanted Boba Fett and I wanted him to butt heads at some point and have a real fight. Now, if they wanted to be friends after that, whatever. But I really wanted to see a mano-a-mano matchup that was better than just him pulling Boba Fett out of his sleep tank and throwing him around his bedroom when he was in his undies. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't know. That's just me. If I don't get that, I still feel like I'm going to feel a little jaded. I feel like that's going to be a missed opportunity. But
you're gonna see the Rancor and Danny Trejo, and you're gonna get all giggly inside.
That's gonna make me feel good. Yeah, that's gonna make me feel good. But I still feel like that fight would have been fun to see. I don't think we got a good enough version of that. But anyway, go down in the comments and let us know what you guys think. There are only 2 episodes left. What do you want to say?
I was done. My final little segue into I was talking about money. I was going there. Sorry, I had to mention my sign at least. With him talking about money, because at the end there, when Fennec Shand and Boba Fett are on that little balcony, and they're talking about like money and shit, and he's like, "Well, we got money. What we need is muscle," and she's like, "Well, money buys muscle if you know where to go." And then they have that little musical sting from fucking The Mandalorian. I'm like, what? Are you suggesting we're gonna cross here again?
Could be. I mean,
I was like, that's that little first little bit of the Mandalorian's theme when she says that. I'm like, oh, we about to hire him to come in and we're gonna do some shit. That's why I wanted to make it Where's Daddy Mando, but like, I don't know, Wookiee Fight Club seemed kind of better. It just sounded funnier to me. I was like, they don't do shit on accident. I'm like, when she says, money buys muscle if you know where to look, and then, dude.
But I mean,
I'm like, oh.
So you think Mando, Din Djarin's going to be popping in to help him be the muscle?
It could be for like just an episode. I'm not saying they're going to, because I know there's going to be more Mandalorian, and they seem to keep intertwining.
Yeah, but I don't know when.
Why was that a thing? Because Boba has his own like theme song, written by the same guy who made the Mando's theme, but that seemed really specific. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I guess
because didn't we say what's he gonna do now? Like, fucking Luke ran off with the child, so it's like, well, now what do you do? You got the sword.
Yeah.
You got
the more I think about it, I think you could probably pull that off. Because part of me thinks it wouldn't make much sense to bring Mando into this because I don't even know if there's a release date for season 3 of The Mandalorian yet. As far as I know, they were still filming it. It had gone through some delays. There were some COVID delays, some other stuff, and then there was no word as to whether it was going to actually have a specific release date. I have no idea when it's coming out. I would think that you would bring Din Djarin's Mandalorian in to kind of be the first little bit of advertisement for season 3. But because we don't even know when season 3 is coming out, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, you're right. I mean, just to bring him in for one episode and have them get into a battle together, just to remind people that Din Djarin is still around. I guess it's probably not the craziest thing. There is also still this rumor floating around that Harrison Ford is going to be popping in at some point. Maybe Boba Fett and Harrison Ford will bury the hatchet for one little thing going on.
Sorry for stabbing your jetpack there, buddy.
Yeah, maybe we see him and Chewbacca rolling in on the Falcon for a few minutes and just start wrecking some people because, Boba Fett decided to throw them, a few thousand credits for whatever. Hey, that's possible. It is interesting that she said it like that now that you mentioned it, because it would be odd if they just went and bought like another group of like fluffy, colored Power Rangers on Vespas again. Like you wouldn't go spend money on clowns like that. Thank God they weren't in this episode. That's the one thing.
I like how they're just like, oh yeah, they're out there combing the streets. They're combing the desert.
I'm glad. I'm glad they've kind of disappeared from the series since their big chase scene through the streets of Mos Eisley. So I'm not fond of those at all.
A little weird.
Yeah.
Look, if maybe they're gonna. Because it seemed like that's an alliance they wouldn't want to just, put to the side like that. They kind of had their little job they pulled, and then they went their separate. I mean, well, Boba Fett, we saw what he did. So I'm like, you know what? He's still got the Darksaber. If he comes in swinging that bitch, I mean, all right, I'm cool with that. If he comes in to help at least a little bit. Maybe they'll both ride the Rancor together off into the two sunsets of Tatooine. I don't know.
The sunsets of Tatooine.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but not the best episode. I don't understand why they wasted almost an entire episode on a flashback, but whatever. I mean, I've been into the story of how Boba Fett got to what he is now, but I didn't want a whole episode dealing with it. It just seemed a little too much to me, especially when you've got so little time to work with. But we haven't seen. There's only been one episode that has been 40 minutes long. I think the first one was like 50, and then everything else has been like 35 minutes long. So I mean, you're already only looking at about a movie worth of time, maybe a little more, a good 3 hours worth, to tell the entire story. Why are you wasting a half hour of it? I don't get it. But anyway, go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think. Have you been into the Book of Boba Fett? Have you been disappointed at any of it a lot? Because a lot of people have said, I mean, I've seen people say that it's more like the pamphlet of Boba Fett. They just don't think they're getting enough story. John Campia tweeted that out. He said it's more like the pamphlet of Boba Fett. And he had some criticisms of it that I had a tough time kind of arguing against in my head. But go down in the comments below. Let us know what you guys think of the Book of Boba Fett. Now we'll move on to our primary story tonight.
Oh, boy.
And that is our spoiler review of Scream. The Scream.
You mean the 1996 classic?
No,
I love it.
I mean the brand new one, Scream 5, which they just called Scream for reasons passing understanding.
What?
Excuse me, but
you watching too much Halloween. I know that was a joke in the first movie, but fuck.
Whatever, something. The Scream franchise sliced and diced its way back into theaters this weekend, knocking Spider-Man No Way Home from the top spot at the box office for the first time since its release, carving out a $30 million opening weekend. The fifth installment of the series returns original stars Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, and David Arquette, alongside newcomers Melissa Barea, Dylan Minnette, Jenna Ortega, and Jack Quaid. Jeremy, you are the horror aficionado of The Harsh Truth. What did you think of Scream?
It's a great 90s slasher, and just don't fuck with it. I'm going to stop making that joke now. To be honest, I mean, I've seen the first one more probably than anything else. Kind of like what I do with a lot of these movies, because usually that's the case. I know they make fun of that Scream because you can be meta all you want. I don't really remember if I've seen the other ones. If I had, I only saw them once. So we watched the first one again before we watched this. And then, funny enough, we actually watched one of my favorite YouTubers, Dead Meat, who does the kill counts for all these horror movies, to get the cliff notes on like 2, 3, and 4. And then it's funny because they were actually in the movie, and I appreciate the shit out of that. The Dead Meat podcast. It was James and Chelsea. I guess I could say fellow YouTubers. We're all in here.
Yes.
That feels a little under. I can't put myself there, but you know, that was a funny little thing that I was like, oh, that's funny. We watched their reviews on it. That was cool that they were in there for a hot second. So this didn't feel. Watching one and then watching this, I'm like, okay, it fits in the aspect of it, and anything that's kind of where you'd have a criticism, you're like, yeah, but that's the point of this series. It can be like, oh yeah, that is that way because it's supposed to be bad, or it's supposed to be this because there are rules. Everyone's a suspect. Thank you, Jamie Kennedy. I liked it overall. I will say you were right. You called the big death. That kind of broke my heart a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
That gutted me. Get it?
Really split your sides there, didn't it?
Did.
I will say, I mean, because how these movies are played out, it's a whodunit, and everyone's a suspect. I called one of them from the fucking start, and then the other one surprised me a little bit. So,
well, remember,
good job, Scream. I mean, you got me.
We're talking spoilers here, so by all means, use names. We remember we are not a spoiler-free channel. I let the short videos be spoiler-free, the ones right out of the theaters, but here I don't bother avoiding spoilers. It's just too hard most of the time, so I just don't bother. So what killer did you peg from the beginning?
The girl, the friend, was her name Becky or something like that?
Amber? I don't know.
No, Amber. You're right. I don't know where I fucking got Becky from. Yeah, Amber. Amber from the fucking start. Now, this may be the... Oh, and I do appreciate that they brought back, fucking, what's his name, is, Billy Loomis. That was...
Oh, yeah. Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah. That's a badass name. It's almost as good as Rip Torn. I don't know why, I just think a guy's got the coolest fucking name in the world. But, yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting to still have him in there, and it looks like he aged, but, like, I'm like, you know it's him. He's still got that face, you know what I mean? Where he totally does not look like totally Johnny Depp. You could have put him in Fantastic Beasts. Anyway, it's funny that now that's our connection, right? This girl we're talking about is the daughter of Billy Loomis. And I think it's hilarious because we've been talking back and forth about our horror movie short thing. It's funny that his name is Loomis. I'm like, ha, Dr. Loomis. This girl's last name is Carpenter. I'm like, really? Really, though? As soon as he said her last name is Carpenter, I'm like, fuck you. God damn it.
But that's one of the things this series has always been, is it's been aware of the genre that it's in. So it's like, yeah, we're throwing these little Easter eggs out there. They're grotesque and they're obvious, but they're fun. They're fun without interfering with the story, which I've always thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's not overshadowing it. I do appreciate at the end they put the little screen that said for Wes, because I'm like, well, yeah, he's unfortunately passed away now. But that's what I was worried about, because I'm like, we're doing this without Wes Craven. Oh boy. But I think they did a good job. What they could have done, did it for him. And I think it's funny that the one kid that died was named Wes, and they're all like, yeah, for Wes, woo! Like, I'm like, is that? Huh? And I love that they used the Stab movies, which is the double ironic thing that's supposed to be based off of their events, which is this is a movie based off of horror movies. This is really weird because they use that to talk about the original Scream, but still make it meta enough to
One of the things I really liked about the movie is it was meta without being obnoxious. It was
worked.
It was meta in all the ways that it needed to be. I mean, there were times where they were pushing the line of kind of overkill, but it was still fun, and then they would pull back and get back into the actual story, which I was like, okay, you guys were walking that line. You were right on it, and then you went back to where you needed to be. I'm okay. And I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah. I will say the boyfriend surprised me. Then I didn't even realize his last name. I was like, holy fuck, that's I almost said Daniel Craig. And
Oh, Quaid.
yeah, not Randy Quaid. Fuck, what's his goddamn brother's name? Why am I having
Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid? I'm having such a fucking hard time today. Yeah. And then I saw it, I'm like, oh my god, I see it in his face. It's just like his dad.
Well, there was one scene in the movie where he smiled really, really big, and I was like, holy shit, he looks just like the Quaid's there.
Yeah.
He has that weird, like, this upper lip is just a little bit shorter than the bottom lips when he smiles. It's a big, almost Joker-like smile.
It works, though. I mean, when you, like I said, that's the one that kind of surprised me, because I'm like, oh, you always, I know, look, Dewey even fucking said it. He's like, rule number one, the love interest. And I was like, yeah, but it's always kind of been a thing where it's like, oh, the boyfriend just happens to come. That's the thing. Everyone just inconveniently pops back in when something happens, and they're like, oh, is that it? Is that them? Was it this one? For a second, for a hot minute, I thought the other one was going to be the redhead chick, because for a second I thought, wait a minute, there's a little too much weird with. And we haven't seen her a lot, because, like, was it one of the movies, like, oh yeah, some guy that we saw once, like, doing a weird dance in the cafeteria. It was him. I'm like, who the fuck? Was it you? So I thought maybe that was why, because she wasn't really in the movie that much, so I thought that could have been it. And I don't know, maybe it was just the way, I don't know, I just did not. Okay, congrats on the actress for making me hate you, because just the way you just irk the fuck out of me with your little stupid fucking smirks and your little quippy bitchy attitude. I'm like, I want to see you die, or like, I hope you're the killer, because I know you're going to die. I don't know. That just seemed off from the fucking get. I'm like, nah, it's gonna be her. Now I'm gonna have fun trying to figure out who the other one is. But that surprised me a little bit. Yeah, and again, I'm not okay with Dewey, man. I was like, I know the joke is, you got stabbed like 7 times and you never died. I'm like, yeah, but he's going to, isn't he? Shit.
Look, full disclosure.
I know it needed to be a cataclysm, like they said. Like, it needs to be real.
Yeah, full disclosure. I've not been a big fan of the Scream franchise. I think it's largely been a disappointment. I thought the first Scream film was good, was okay, yeah. Wasn't great. And you got to remember, I grew up on Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I grew up on that version of horror. So when you get into the 90s, and again, horror the genre kind of died for a long time. Now, I have the utmost amount of respect for what Wes Craven was trying to do with the original Scream. He was trying to modernize the horror genre for the current audience, and I think he did the best job he could have. Didn't work for me as a whole. A fun movie, more comedy than horror, which is a disappointment for me, but still a fun movie. Every Scream movie after that to me was just dead. It just wasn't any good. I didn't like them. The Scream 2 was like whatever, yeah. And then 3 and 4 they just weren't good.
They were.
They were a cartoon character. They were cartoons more than they were horror movies. They were a caricature of a caricature that was the first Scream movie. This movie is a lot closer to the first one for me.
Yeah, it felt more.
It was way more enjoyable than Scream 3 and 4. More enjoyable than Scream 2. Not quite as enjoyable as the original, but I think it was much, much closer than anything they've done with it since before this. I had the boyfriend pegged from the jump. To me, there was so much separating him from the possibility of being the killer that I was like, well, that's going to be the killer. You try to make it. It's like, well, he's like, oh, I don't even know where Woodsboro is. How could it possibly be me? I know you only met me 6 months ago, but I've never been to Woodsboro. I don't even know who your dad is, blah, blah, blah. They tried so hard to separate him from the possibility of being the killer. I was just like, there's going to be one piece of dialogue that explains it perfectly. and that's so we're going to go this whole time thinking that he's not the killer. Do you remember, like, all through WandaVision, we were like, Agnes is not Agatha Harkness. It's like, it's too on the nose. It's too obvious. They're trying really, really hard to make her look like Agatha. It can't possibly be her. And it was kind of the reverse here. It was like they were trying so hard to make it out like there couldn't possibly be any connection to him and Ghostface. I was just like, they're going to do it. They're going to connect him because that's how these movies work.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like, that's exactly how I felt about her fucking friend Amber. I'm like, are you trying to be as obvious as you possibly fucking can?
Yeah.
But why do you I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, that one was, I was like, it's you.
Now, I do kind of dig the fact that when it came to the identity of the two killers, that they did kind of play it from totally different ends of the spectrum for each one. It's like him, they're just like, no, it can't be him. He doesn't want to go to the party to get the thing. He's afraid. He wants to get the fuck out of town. He doesn't know anything about Woodsboro. He's never seen the stab movies. He doesn't like scary movies. He doesn't know anything. And then this girl is just like, the look on her face, it just says, I'm the killer for most of the movie. Yeah. So I was kind of like, at first I was kind of like, well, he's definitely the killer. I don't know about her because they seem to be making her out to look like a killer, so I don't know if it's going to be that obvious. But once it all got revealed, I was like, okay, it's kind of cool how they kind of came from both ends and brought the two killers together like that. I thought that was interesting. Excuse me.
And then when you think about the little, I guess really the only interaction you kind of see them have before that whole big reveal is when they're in the hospital and she's like, so what's your fucking alibi, dude? Fucking Netflix? And I'm like, knowing that they're the killers, that's kind of funny. Them trying to like take cold pokes at each other. I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah, I had the boyfriend peg from the jump. They made that a little too obvious for me.
I know. For me, it was the friend.
Her was not really surprising, but it got to a point in the movie where I was like, I don't really care who the killers are, unless it's somebody really outlandish. Unless that would have been the time where not fucking Billy, but the other Stu. If that mask would have come off and it would have been Stu. And I haven't seen Stu's face for the entire movie, and I spent all this time thinking that Stu was dead for most of the last 20 years. That would have blown my fucking mind. But
I'm like, if Matthew Lillard came out, I've been like, oh shit,
so dope. That would have been so dope. I would have loved the movie so much more if he'd have been like, I got to get revenge for Billy or some shit like that, or I faked my death, or I escaped before the cops got there. Whatever. I mean, however he would have pulled it off.
And it's his own house.
Yeah. If it would have been him, that would have been fucking amazing. But
it's his own house. Like I said, it makes sense.
I felt absolutely no connection to the killers. I was like, okay, here's the killers. I was like, I'm not impressed. I don't really like these. I had him pegged from the jump, which made it very anticlimactic. I didn't really like her enough to really give a shit. And what really got me is that I understand that they were trying to approach things from a different perspective. It's like it was always somebody who was attached to Sydney somehow. But I'm like, you just got two people who were just stupid movie fans to be the killers. That doesn't really attach I don't emotionally or psychologically attach myself to their motive. You know what I mean?
Isn't that kind of...
It's like you attach yourself to Billy and Stu. You attach yourself to her illegitimate brother that she didn't know about. You attach yourself to these other killers for a reason because you're attached to Sydney. They have no connection to anything. You're just bringing these outsiders in. They're like, I just want to be a part of things, so I started stabbing people in Woodsboro, and that was it. It's like, really? That's your motivation? That's so stupid. I was in Nightwatch's chat a week or two ago when they were talking about some of their theories coming up for the movie, and I had put in there, I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if it was Sydney's mother? We've never actually seen her die. She dies off camera before the first movie. Maybe somehow, and then somebody was like, oh, well, she's dead. She can't be around. I'm like, well, Stu is dead, but there's all kinds of rumors about him that people love. And somebody had even brought up in his chat earlier in that stream the idea of Stu being one of the killers or somehow being involved, and everybody was all digging it. I'm like, well, Stu's dead. So, I mean, look, for A, we're talking about a movie, so who gives a shit? Nobody's ever really dead until they're dead. I was like, and B, I mean, look, we're not talking about continuity being important here. It could be fucking, I mean, Jason Voorhees could have come walking out of the fucking woods. I mean, who would have cared? But, I mean, I feel like having somebody who was more connected to Sydney, or at least to all the incidents that have happened in prior movies, would have been better for me. Just having these two random kids who met on a message board, I didn't feel connected to them like I would have felt connected to anybody else.
I do like that. Like, I think when they cast the dude to play Billy, I'm like, I think it works because I'm like, you look at him, he kind of has like, he's got those big like expressive eyes. He's kind of got like that little stare, and it kind of makes you a little bit uncomfortable when he looks a certain way because you kind of think, oh, well, could he be? I don't know, but you're like, oh, but he's the boyfriend. You're like, yeah, could it really be him? And it plays pretty well, like I said. But with the fucking girl, the friend, I'm like, that's just your character. That's just your whole thing. I'm like, you're not even trying to like off-put it a little bit by being like, but I'm probably not though. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure it's you. You're not even trying to hide it at all. I don't know.
Yeah, and
Cause like the thing with Stu is like I don't know. Maybe it's just because Matthew Lillard needs a fucking gift of a human being. I love this man, but I'm like maybe it's just because of the way he acts, and you're just like, oh, this goofball could not be, and you're like, oh fuck, he really is. Oh shit, that's what gets you about that. I don't know. Like I said, with these two. Also, can we talk about? Hold on. Can we talk about this? Is her friend supposed to be like her sister's age? And then like the boyfriend is like older, like probably somewhere around my age, if not a little older.
I don't know.
Are we? Because I'm like they're like. I mean, are you trying to do the thing like where Stu and fucking Billy? I mean, he kept saying babe, and it's like, are they a thing? Cool. All right, that's a fun, not really Bonnie and Clyde thing, but hey, you guys are doing this together. You slay together, you stay together. I don't care. But they were like calling each other babe and shit back and forth. I'm like, are you guys pedophiles? What the fuck? Because he kept saying like, "Come on, teens, yep, teens. I'm old. Yeah, get out. Haha, I'm a party crasher. Haha." And I'm like, isn't that like her friend, her sister's friend, who's like a fucking tween? This is getting creepy almost. Like,
I don't know.
I don't care that you just killed people, but that's a child, dude.
It's a Scream movie. There's a certain amount. It's a horror movie, so there's a suspension of disbelief that you have to experience. That you have to make sure you remind yourself of.
One final thing though, I don't know why I kept thinking so hard. I'm like, wait a minute. So we saw Billy die, right? The only time we really saw him hook up with somebody was Sydney. So I thought for fucking the whole movie, I was like, are we gonna say that Sydney was the older sister's mom? Because you're like, oh, that's Billy Loomis's kid. I'm like, yeah, but with who? You just never fucking said that at all. I thought you were gonna say Sydney because that's who we saw. They slept together in the first movie. Now, Rachel brought up a good point that you saw Billy like fucking around with those girls in the video store. I'm like, maybe it could have been them, one of them. No. Okay. Yeah, that kind of threw me. Maybe just because in the back of my head, I just kept thinking constantly, like, wait a minute, is that supposed to be her mom? Because we don't know who else he'd been with. I don't know. It's a fun connection because it is Billy Loomis, and I like how they didn't necessarily like his weird little ghost, that spirit, whatever that she kept seeing, didn't just seem like a malevolent killer. He kind of, there was like little nods of like yeah, you all right, kid, you're good. And I thought for a second she was gonna fucking go there because when she stabbed the boyfriend like an obnoxious number of times, and I thought, oh damn, I know he said you're the villain, but calm down. Holy shit, that better not be fucking genetic. I don't know. Maybe keeping that whole family lineage under wraps just for the fact that we need to know that it's Billy Loomis's kid is the whole point. I don't know. And I will say I appreciate the way they killed the friend. They fucking set her on fire. That was pretty fucking funny. And the little twist of like, oh yeah, they always come back, and then she fucking shoots the boyfriend in the fucking head. I'm like, ah. And it kind of got me. I was like, oh wait, yeah, they didn't kill the other friend. Shit. And yeah, they take her out.
Yeah, and on to like the death of Dewey.
I know that was a badass way to fuck. I mean, I love that shot. Like you said, like it's in the trailer, dude. Like you see the ground, it's moving with his feet. The fucking empty shells are falling on the fucking floor. He's loading the gun up again. I'm like, oh no, Dewey, no. Oh no.
Well, because I mean, thinking about it going into it, I was like, if one of the original three characters that was coming back was gonna die, I mean, Dewey was the logical choice. I mean,
they did do that little like, oh, anyone can die in these movies. They stab Sydney. It's like, don't, wait a minute, don't do that. They already like shot and beat the shit out of Courtney Cox too. So I'm like, oh boy, are they gonna kill off all of them? Holy crap! Put me on edge.
Yeah, Dewey was the logical choice to die. I loved his death. His death was meaningful. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people have kind of shit on like Gale and Sydney's reaction to Dewey's death, but it's like, for one, there is a situation in front of them that they need to deal with. So anybody who's
Yeah.
ever been in well, maybe not a similar situation, but a situation where you don't really have that initial moment to grieve or to process anything that's happened, you just have to deal with the situation in front of you, would understand. But you got to remember, Gale did react in the moment as they're wheeling Dewey's body out in the bag. She has a very visceral reaction that you would expect. So
yeah. Also, I don't know if it just seems like it's kind of adorable, because like when you watch the original movie, I'm like, I don't know if they might have been together, like in real life, Courtney Cox and David Arquette might have been together at that point. But it's always kind of adorable how it's always just them two, and they kind of go, and then it kind of hurt a little bit in this movie because it seemed like it may have come from a real place, because they're like, look, well, we split apart. This isn't the same anymore. Like they kind of were going back and forth at each other. I'm like, yeah, because they did divorce not long ago, so. Or maybe a few years ago now, I don't know. It's just kind of funny how it kind of follows their real life a little bit. It's just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So it may have come from a real place a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, but I thought Dewey's death was pretty spectacular. All the deaths in this movie I thought were pretty cool. I mean, and the ones that weren't extravagant, they were very fitting for the franchise. So
yeah.
I liked all the deaths. The survivors, whatever. Actually, the twin brother and sister, the boy is actually Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son.
Really?
Yeah. I was looking at his face when I was watching the movie.
Right.
I was like, he's got a familiar look to him. I wonder if I've seen him as something else. And then I read in something just today, actually, that's Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son. I was like, oh,
Shit.
maybe that's why I thought I recognized him. And again, the guy that plays the killer, the guy, he's in The Boys on Amazon, which is a fucking great show. If you're into superhero stuff, it is an insane take on the superhero genre. It's like, what if the superheroes are actually fucking sociopathic assholes? It's a fun watch. But yeah, I love the cast. I love the kills. Didn't feel any connection at all to the killers. Didn't really like them. Like I said, the boyfriend jumped out at me from the very beginning. I mean, they seem to emphasize, but I just met you 6 months ago, and I'd never been to Woods. They were trying so hard to detach him. I was like, I've been here. There's going to be like one scene or one piece of dialogue that perfectly explains why he's the killer, and you're going to go, why didn't I see that coming? Well, because you're dumb and you don't understand how movies like this work.
My hope was that it was maybe going to then just subvert your expectation and just actually twist it. Like, whoa, nope, wasn't them. I'm like, aha, see, you got me. Because I really would have thought that was that person.
Yeah, like I said, I do like the different approaches they took from each killer. It's like you make the one look obvious, you make the one look so make the one look so obvious that she's the killer, make the other one look so obvious that he's not. And then it kind of sows a little bit of confusion. But I saw him coming from a mile away.
I think what we were trying to figure out is like, okay, so who did what when? Because I'm like, well, I don't know if the whole cloning the phone thing is a fucking thing. Because that was a video call. That has to come from a phone, and she has to answer it, and it has to be filming. But I'm like, it seemed like this wasn't too far away. Like, they drove there, for fuck's sake. Like, from one town in California to the next. So I'm like, it's plausible. I mean, like, if the boyfriend went there and stabbed the sister, he could have drove back that night or something, and then been like, oh, hey, I just see her at work. Like, hey, what's going on? Just trying to figure out who did the initial thing, like, who was doing what at what time. We're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, the whole scene with the sheriff and her son, that's the one that kind of got me a little bit, because I was like, wow, I have a teenage son of my own, so that being in that position with her, I was like, that made my heart race a little bit. That was something. But
he even did that little hint where he's like, you ever seen the movie Psycho? And they do that little upward shot of the shower. I was like, no, don't! Shit.
And you know what's great about that kill was, visually, I thought it was really, really well done. It's like you see the knife like go into the side of his throat and hit his carotid, and then come out the other end. I was like, that was a awesome fucking visual.
Yeah, it just like stays there too. He's like in his face. I'm like, oh
yeah,
my god, fuck.
because usually you see the re, and then there's like blood
Yeah.
splattering everywhere, but you don't necessarily see the wound itself. This one, that was an intense visual to see that knife slowly like dig into the side of his neck, hit that artery, come out the other side, just watch all that blood just come gushing down. That was a killer visual. That was some great special effects right there.
But, it's like that one in Halloween where he fucking that one long shot, then he goes in and grabs that one by the neck and it's like stabs it through the back of her neck and it comes like out her throat. I was like, whoa, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But the other thing I really liked, though, honestly, my favorite part of the movie was the OG characters.
Of course.
I like the fact that they didn't really play a significant part in the film until late in the second act. You kind of let the new cast kind of take things and run with it, and bring them in a little bit later. Yeah, it was a good way to kind of pass the torch. It was also a good way to. I mean, because this whole thing ultimately is about Sydney still, but it's a good way to not constantly have her in front of the camera shoving Sydney in your face and kind of getting people tired of the same old stuff. You were still able to tell a different story, but it still does have a lot to do with Sydney and how everything started with her in Woodsboro 20-something years ago. But the one thing I really, really liked is I really, really liked Skeet Ulrich. The way they used him, obviously he's dead, but not having him be like the dark passenger for Dexter, where always like there's this ghost that's walking around her, talking to her that nobody else can see. I love how instead of doing that, they had his reflection in a mirror. They had his reflection in a car window instead of her reflection, it was him. That kind of thing. I really liked. I think it was a much more subtle, but still very significant way for him to play a role in what was happening over the course of this movie. I really like how well done that was. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this when you were gone. I was like, I like how it's not just like, oh, well, he's the killer. It's like he's kind of giving like little, kind of weirdly approving nods to her and like trying to like push her along a little bit with his daughter. So I'm like, it's kind of cool how he's like, look, there's, shit you got to do here, and there's a reason for all this. I'm like, yeah.
I've struggled thinking about this since I saw the movie over the weekend. Is this kind of a redemption for Billy?
Yeah, I was like weirdly like, are we kind of redeeming him?
Yeah, he definitely has an influence over his illegitimate daughter. But and there are times early on in the movie where it seems like he's trying to chide her into doing something terrible. But at the end of the movie, when she's having that showdown with the two killers and she sees him in the mirror and he's kind of like, pointing her, directing her down to where that knife is hidden, trying to help her save herself. Yeah. I didn't really, I was curious as to what they were trying to convey with all that. Are they trying to redeem his spirit? Are they trying to? Whatever the word is, they're trying to redeem kind of his image, because obviously it's not Billy. Billy is dead. It's just the way that this girl sees her illegitimate father. Or maybe it's just kind of like her subconscious taking the form of her dead illegitimate dad in the mirror. I don't really know. I don't really know. Everybody's probably going to look at it differently. But I did think it was in the end a little bit of a redemption of sorts for Billy. Did you get that same idea out of it all?
Yeah, it makes him a little more complex. I like that it's not just, he's just a killer. Just he had his reasons, he had his motivation and shit. Because, your mom's no Sharon Stone. But I have to give you some more Matthew Lillard. God, that man is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. It did seem, because I'm like, I don't know if she knew him at all. I'm assuming not. So I don't know what she'd had to base that off of. So it seemed kind of, like they were almost kind of, he seemed a little bit kind of guiding, like you said. So I was like, yeah. He's just kind of there to kind of push her along a little bit. So it was cool to see, though. And I'm like, I'm just glad he was back. I didn't expect that. That was kind of a cool way to do that.
Yeah. Do you think there's going to be another sequel made?
Because you can keep burning that joke into the ground. Maybe. I don't know. They kind of ended it. Ended it the same way where they do that stupid little flash of him at the end, like wiping the knife off, of course. I don't know, because the last thing was she asked Sydney, like, am I ever gonna be okay? She's like, yeah, eventually. I'm like, all right. Same kind of shot. We're panning out. There's the house. There's a reporter going up and saying the shit.
Which was very reminiscent of the first movie, I thought.
Yeah, she's in the yellow outfit. It's the same as like what Courtney Cox was doing. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know.
Yeah, to me, for one, I mean, like I said, I've not been overly impressed with this franchise as a whole to begin with. But for me, I thought this was a decent ending. And there's even something in the dialogue that Gale says towards the end of the movie when Sydney looks at her and says, "This is going to make a great book" or whatever. She goes, "Nah, I'm not writing this. I don't want. I want these people to die in anonymity. They wanted to be famous. I'm not going to give them fame. I'm going to write the book about Dewey instead, about a sheriff I knew named Dewey." And I thought to myself that that's like there's a symbolism there of this whole thing being the end that could be saying that this is also the end of the franchise. That, I mean, look, I think one way or another they're either going to reboot it or make a sequel, because that's what Hollywood in real life does. But as far as these characters and this storyline is concerned, I felt like that was a nice way of saying this is where this franchise ends. This is where the Courtney Cox, Gale, and the Sydney, played by what's her name, Neve Campbell. Neve Campbell. This, and Dewey obviously comes to an end. This whole story of the Woodsboro thing that has lasted for 25 years. This story comes to an end today. It comes to an end right now.
Evil dies tonight.
Evil dies tonight. But I thought that metaphorically that was a really good way to end the franchise. That with Gale saying no more books, no more nothing. I'm going to go remember Dewey. I'm going to, we've done what we had to do to make sure this stuff ended. But I mean, obviously, there's going to be another movie made. What form that takes, one form or another, is who knows at this point. I would imagine it's going to be a sequel, because I was doing some reading about it earlier today, and Wes Craven, before he passed, had actually had plans for a 5th and 6th installment.
Oh boy!
And there was a lot that went on about creatively about how they wanted to approach it. Wes wanted this, production company wanted to do this. They were trying to hash it all out. Then unfortunately, Wes passes away, and it was all kind of in limbo until these two guys, I forget their names, that ended up making the movie. I'm drawing a blank. I don't know if I have it here in my notes or not.
I don't know.
Matt Benatello Open and Tyler Garrett shared directing duties this time.
Sure.
And it sees franchise regulars, blah, 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 so on, so on, so on. But but these two guys came on and kind of took over the franchise and wanted to shepherd it to a 5th film. And look, I don't think their efforts are without success. I mean, like I said, I think this was the best movie of the franchise since the first one. I mean, as much as I've not liked the franchise as a whole, I thought the first one and this one were pretty good. I don't like too much comedy with horror. I like more horror than comedy, and this one seemed a little too funny for me at times. But still, I thought it was much better done than the last 3 movies.
I mean, but we all like Army of Darkness. Maybe it's just because it's Bruce Campbell.
Sometimes things hit a certain way. An Army of Darkness.
I'm just saying. Maybe that's just a different...
Army of Darkness managed to pull it off. But hey, sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle. It's like you never try to catch lightning in a bottle. It just happens. But
baby.
But yeah, overall, I mean, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was decent. I'll probably go back and see it in theaters again. Again, I didn't feel any attachment to the killers once they were revealed. I was kind of like, meh. The whole final thing with them trying to goad Sydney and try to not take over her spot, but I mean just try to. I mean the dialogue back and forth I thought was pretty good. It was kind of standard for this brand of horror film, but I mean I thought it was good dialogue. How they finally took care of both the killers in the end, I thought was pretty good. Shooting that bitch and having her fall over on the stove and catch on fire, golden.
I think you came in right when I was saying, I was like, oh, I fucking love how they killed the fucking friend. They set her ass on fire. I was like, all right, dope.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah.
I do appreciate that I noticed it when we first see Dewey again. He goes over that picture of Courtney Cox. I don't know if you saw it. To the right, there was a box of ashes, and it said Tatum for his sister. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh, I did not catch that.
Okay. I'm the only one then. Damn it.
Wow.
I just noticed. Yeah. I noticed that when he turns around, he looks at like it's on that shelf, right? They kind of have a shot before him, like when he turns around, like he looks at the picture of Gale, like right to the right of it. There's a little wooden box with like a gold plaque that just says Tatum. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. He kept his sister's ashes. Holy
Oh
shit!
wow, I did not catch that.
I'm like, for me, I'm like that added so much more weight to. I mean, you already know what Dewey's kind of feeling, man. Like where he's at in his life, and I'm like, fuck, that probably makes it worse.
Well,
That's something
and that's one of the
he
things.
probably felt responsible. Like fuck, my sister died. Like
Well,
I was there and I could have done something.
that's one of the things that really connects you to Dewey. It's like I know that for the first movie, he's kind of painted as this bumbling idiot.
He's kind of goofy,
Yeah,
yeah.
he is kind of. I mean, and I kind of was thinking to myself as I was watching this movie, I was like, you know, they spent the entire first movie basically calling this guy stupid and low IQ and not very smart, not very good at his job, and he somehow became sheriff. But
Right.
but from the very beginning, he's been attached to all this almost as much as Sydney has been, because his sister was a victim. So
Yeah.
he does have a deep personal connection to all this. Whereas, you know, Gail, she was just the reporter that popped in when all this shit started popping off, and she kind of got sucked into it. But
Yeah.
before developing a relationship with Dewey, she didn't really have a personal connection. But I mean, Dewey, I mean, his sister was one of the first victims of this entire thing. So he's definitely got a deep personal connection to all of this. So yeah, that's one of the things that if you think
nice.
about it, it makes his death even more poignant.
Yeah, it was a nice touch, and I thought, damn, like that's how he's gonna go out. I mean, and if he's gonna go out, man, like, whoo, you take two knives, just and then straight up. I was like, fucking Jesus, man.
And then Jamie Kennedy's sister from the first movie is in this movie as well. She plays the mother of two of the kids.
Yeah.
And you know, you see him. They've named like their home theater the fucking memorial for whatever the hell his character's name was.
Yeah, it's his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
I was like,
there's a nice little nod, nice little Easter egg.
yeah, because I like that like, he was in the third movie technically because he made that video. I'm like, yeah, or Jamie Kennedy sat down for a day and did that because he needed to pay rent or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I'm like, well, wait, did they have like they had to use his likeness or some shit? They had to get permission. So I'm like, did he get a little bit of that? I'm like, I know he can't come
Well,
back.
you know, they
really,
had that picture of Hayden Panettiere on the YouTuber talking about the movies. I don't know if you caught that or not. They were talking about her being a survivor or something like that. And I don't know if you noticed. I noticed it in the credits, and I read something about it today. It actually says in the credits somewhere, it's just thanks to Hayden Panettiere. It's like, so she didn't actually get a credit. She got a thanks. Thanks for letting us use your picture, even though it's not really shouldn't even be that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, I hate to score movies on any kind of a scale because people always seem to misunderstand it, no matter what I give it. But I mean, what is just kind of your overall thoughts in a couple sentences of the movie?
As a continuation, I enjoyed it. It definitely hit all the beats of kind of what the first movie was about, but you know, in its own kind of way. Obviously, like I said, keeping it going. I thought it did it pretty well, standing out on its own and being its own thing. While you know, obviously having nods to the original.
Yeah, I mean, if for me to
It all comes back to the original, like I said.
For me to sum it up, not quite as good as the first, better than everything from the second one on. A fitting end to the franchise. It brings things kind of full circle in a way, not as much as I would have liked. The OG cast is still great. They fit into the movie very, very well. It was the right amount of meta. When you do self-aware in a movie, it's really, really easy to fuck it up. It's really, really easy to do too much. This was, I think, a pretty good amount. I think they were able to tell the story, but still be aware of what they are as a franchise, what they are as a genre, how the general public views the franchise, and ultimately, I thought it wasn't bad. I mean, like I said, I'll probably go give it another watch in theaters while it's still out there. It's obviously doing some pretty good money. It's definitely the best draw at the box office. Early on. I mean, we're only 20 days into 2022, but it's definitely been the biggest movie thus far. It'll probably be a top 10 movie. Well, maybe. It may be a top 10 movie at the end of the year when all things are said and done. Maybe. Depends. Depends on if it has legs. I think it'll probably have legs. But because I don't think we have anything big coming out to challenge anything. Them in the box office till March. I mean, I don't have the release. I don't have the release calendar sitting in front of me, but I don't think we have another big release happening until March. So basically, it's going to be this and Spider-Man if you want to go see a big movie for the next several weeks. So I mean,
because Morbius is in April, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be it could have legs. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that we go to theaters to see a couple of times. But not a bad movie overall, and I think you guys should definitely go check it out. If you're a fan of the comedy horror genre, if you're a fan of the horror genre, if you just want to go spend a couple hours watching a movie and you don't want to feel like you got robbed of the cost of a movie ticket, go watch this one. It's pretty fun. Yeah, that's all of our thoughts on Scream. It's unfortunate that Cora couldn't be here tonight. I know she was having some internet issues. I know we got started a bit late, but Gatekeeper Drew is going to be starting here in about 15 minutes. He's going to be talking about some stuff. I'll be back on later on tonight at some point, giving you my picks for week 2 of the NFL playoffs. I was 6 for 6 last week, baby. I am all the knowledge in the NFL there needs to be. Not really, but still. I was 6 for 6. I got them all right. Honestly, there weren't a whole lot of hard games to pick. I mean, the 49er-Cowboys game could have gone either way in the end. And the Cardinals-Rams game, I did not see that game turning into a blowout the way it did. I thought that could have gone either way going into it. But, yeah, I was 6 for 6. And I've got an upset pick for next week that I will tell you guys all about. Until then, Jeremy, where can the folks at home find you on the interwebs?
You can always come abuse me on Twitter. I like to post every once in a fucking while, and I make something mildly funny. Or you can come watch me suck at games on Twitch. I don't do shit on there either yet. I'm gonna actually pick that back up again. Or I'm always here. If things go the way they should, since apparently now there's a segment of the show where I unbox shit. Look, there is something pretty fucking big coming. And it's going to be pretty fucking cool. And pretty momentous. And I mean, I don't know if I might live stream it. I don't know if I'm going to do it on here or on Twitch yet, or maybe I could cheat it, do one on my computer and one on my phone or some dumb shit. I don't know. But yeah, so that's something's coming. So Thursday you might see me open something pretty big.
Jeremy's unboxings. You can see him right here on The Harsh Truth every Thursday. As for me, you find me here every Thursday with my co-host, usually Lady Cora, and my hetero life mate Jeremy. Aaron's still trying to figure out. He's doing some technical stuff to his computer that is way above my head, but he's wanting to get more involved with the channel as well moving forward this year. So hopefully we'll have him on here soon as well. You can also find me on Sunday nights at 9 o'clock over on the Derailed News and Podcast with Gatekeeper Drew. He is going live again here in a few minutes. I may pop onto his stream for a while if I get my picks done fast enough. But until then, thank you guys all for hanging out. We had plenty of people in the chat tonight. JCS Foot Rub was in there as always. Alex and the Garbage Man. They went live a little earlier too. They're probably done by now. Talk that talk. Get a news and opinion. My man Heist Man Defoe. Who else was in here? Oh, wow. Everything. Rachel was in here, of course. The Almighty One. David Patrick. What's going on with you, my man? And then, of course, the Russian trolls who were in here just, doing whatever. Trying to get me to click on whatever ABC-147 things. I don't even know what the hell they were putting in there. It makes no sense to me at all.
The KGB will be at your fucking door in an hour.
Fuck the KGB and fuck Vladimir Putin. Come get me, Vlad. I ain't afraid of you. I ain't afraid of you. Anyway, until then, see you guys next Thursday. Adios.